Chapter 126. With that, Su Xingchen pulled out a pistol from his waist and pointed the muzzle at Xia Dong's head. He sneered, "Xia Dong, send my regards to your bitch of a mother who has already passed away." Xia Dong stared at the black muzzle of the gun. She was so nervous that her back was sweating. She tried her best to remain calm. "Su Xingchen, if you kill me, what awaits you will be a few decades of prison life. Do you want to spend the rest of your life in prison?" Su Xingchen's eyes were wild. "I've already thrown caution to the wind. If I can't have it, then no one else can. Xia Dong, don't worry, you won't be alone. Su Yunqian will soon accompany you." She gave a twisted and cruel smile and slowly pulled the trigger. Bang! A loud sound was heard. The door was kicked open and a black figure hugged Xia Dong like a bolt of lightning. Like a hunting leopard, he quickly brought her around and dodged Su Xingchen's muzzle. What came out of the muzzle was not a bullet, but a liquid. The liquid stained the wall and the wall immediately began to bubble. Just as Xia Dong's heart was pounding, the black figure had already let go of her. His body was as fast as the wind as he pounced on Su Xingchen. His movements were fast and fierce. In the blink of an eye, the black figure had already grabbed her wrist. While the two were fighting for the pistol, the trigger was pulled. The black figure raised the muzzle and aimed it at Su Xingchen's face. The liquid from the gun accurately sprayed onto her face. She threw the gun away and covered her face with both hands as she screamed. Her skin was rapidly smoking and rotting at a speed visible to the naked eye. This frightening scene took place within a short span of 10 seconds. Xia Dong and Su Yunqian then realized that she was not using a real pistol, but a water gun filled with strong acid. Su Xingchen's hands trembled as he covered his cheeks. He wailed mournfully and staggered out of the changing room. The black figure did not chase after him. He turned around and faced Xia Dong. It was Lu Xing. His face was expressionless, but his eyes were filled with worry. "Miss Xia, are you okay?" "Thank you, I'm fine." Xia Dong glanced at the place where Su Xingchen was just standing. There was still a strong acid on the floor. She could not help but feel a burst of fear. Su Yunqian's legs went soft. She held on to the dressing table to stand. She knew that if Su Xingchen succeeded and shot Xia Dong, she would be the second. "Yunqian, are you okay?" Bailey Han could tell that something was wrong from the phone call, so he hurried over. His hair was a little messy, and he looked anxious. "Han, I'm fine." Su Yunqian bit her lips. Her eyes were filled with tears. She seemed to be frightened. "But the wedding dress is ruined." The wedding dress that she had used to block the strong acid had been corroded into tatters by the strong acid, and it was full of small holes. "It's good that you're okay." Bailey Han's heart, which had been in his throat, returned to his chest. He hugged her tightly and looked around. Only then did he notice Xia Dong and Lu Xing's presence. Xia Dong was also in a sorry state. Even the small jacket she was wearing had a few small holes corroded, revealing the straps inside. Bailey Han's body stiffened. He wanted to let go of Su Yunqian, but she hugged him even tighter. Xia Dong smiled faintly. "Mr. Bailey, Miss Su, I won't disturb you anymore." She and Lu Xing walked out of the changing room calmly. "Miss Xia," Lu Xing suddenly called her. She turned around in surprise. A suit jacket was draped over her shoulders. Lu Xing's black-rimmed glasses covered his eyes. He said faintly, "Your clothes are torn." Xia Dong was embarrassed. She almost forgot that her jacket was corroded by the acid. "Thank you." "You're welcome." Xia Dong looked at his serious face and wanted to laugh. But when she thought of Su Xingchen who ran away, her heart sank. "Lu Xing, Su Xingchen ran away. I'm worried that she won't give up." Lu Xing was expressionless. Miss Ya, don't worry. What awaits Su Xingchen is jail time. Xia Dong shook his head. The Su family is too powerful. Su Murong won't just watch her only daughter go to prison. Su Xingchen's crime is just intentional assault. Coupled with the attempted assault, there's no real evidence. Her crime seems too easy to exonerate. Lu Xing's lips curled up strangely. Miss Ya, you don't have to worry about this. I believe that boss will have a way. Just as Xia Dong and Lu Xing left, Bailey Han also walked out of the changing room with Su Yunqian in his arms. Su Yunqian leaned against his arm. The burned skin on the back of her hand had already been treated. Bailey Han sent her to the hospital. Although the burn area was not big, it would definitely leave a scar and it would take more than a week for the wound to heal. After leaving the hospital, Bailey Han drove Su Yunqian home. She bit her lip and said awkwardly, Han, we're going to have our wedding tomorrow. But the wedding dress is ruined and my hand is injured. What should we do? Bailey Han thought for a moment and said, the wedding dress is easy to solve. I'll ask Anson for help. As for the wound on your hand, he glanced at the back of her hand. After wearing white gloves, you can barely see the gauze on the back of your hand. We'll simplify the wedding and you won't have to work too hard. Su Yunqian tilted her head and looked into his eyes. She said firmly, the wedding will be held as usual. I'm fine, Han. I don't want our wedding to have any regrets. Okay, I'll listen to you. Bailey Han's lips curled up. When he was about to say something, his phone suddenly rang. He hung up the headset and heard Madame Gu's voice. Okay, Grandma. We'll go back tonight. Bailey Han said a few words to Madame Gu and hung up the phone. He said to Su Yunqian, Yunqian, Grandma said that she wants to see us tonight. She wants us to go home. Su Yunqian smiled, okay, but don't tell Grandma that I'm injured, in case she's worried. Bailey Han changed the direction and the car drove to Bailey's old house. When they arrived at the old house, Madame Gu and Bailey Yi were playing chess in the living room. The old woman and the young man huddled together. Madame Gu cried, no, no, baby Yi, I regret it. I shouldn't have done this. Bailey Yi puffed up his cheeks and said helplessly, Great-grandma, you've already regretted 5 moves. Then let me regret it again. Baby E, I'm your great-grandma. Don't be so calculative. Bailey Yi's little face scrunched up. Was this old child who always regretted her moves and refused to grow up really the strict and decisive Madame Bailey? Bailey Han couldn't help but smile when he saw Madame Gu's shameless look and his son's distressed little face. He held Su Yunqian's arm and walked towards them. Grandma, we're back. Su Yunqian smiled, Grandma, Xiao Yi, you're playing chess. Daddy, Auntie Yunqian. Bailey Yi stood up from the small chair and greeted them politely. Old Madame saw the bandaged back of Su Yunqian's hand at a glance. She looked concerned. Yunqian, what happened to your hand? Is it serious? Come here and let me take a look. It's nothing serious. I accidentally rubbed it. Su Yunqian let go of Bailey Han's arm and walked elegantly to Madame Gu's side and sat down. Madame Gu lifted her wrist and carefully examined it. Oh, the bandage is so thick. Are you sure it's okay? Will it affect tomorrow's wedding? It's really fine, Grandma. Don't worry. It won't affect tomorrow's wedding. Madame Gu was relieved when she heard that it wasn't serious. She smiled and asked, did the rehearsal go smoothly today? Tell Grandma about it. Su Yunqian and Bailey Han looked at each other and said with a smile, it went well. Grandma, why did you call us back? It's nothing serious. I just wanted to tell you guys to come back and tell you some things to pay attention to when you hold the wedding. Madame Gu asked them to sit beside her and told them a lot of details. They listened patiently and asked questions from time to time. Madame Gu was very satisfied with their serious attitude. After dinner, Bailey Han was called to the study by Madame Gu. "Ah Han, I actually called you back today for something else." Madame Gu sat in the rattan chair with a hint of sadness in her eyes. "Xiao Yi called me today and said, Great-grandma, Daddy and Auntie Yunqian are married. Can I not call Auntie Yunqian Mommy? Great-grandma, when Daddy and Auntie Yunqian have Xiao Bao, will they still love me?" Bailey Han's body stiffened and his chest suddenly tightened. Madame Gu wiped the corners of her eyes. "Ah Han, I said this to tell you that no matter what happens in the future, Xiao Yi will always be Bailey's eldest grandson." Bailey Han couldn't describe his feelings at that moment. Bitterness, guilt, heartache, all at the same time. He secretly clenched and unclenched his fists. After a long time, he said, "Grandma, I understand. Xiao Yi is my son. I won't let him suffer in the slightest." "I'm relieved to hear that." Madame Gu nodded in satisfaction. Suddenly, she thought of something and asked, "What's with the injury on the back of Yunqian's hand? Did she really scratch it?" Her eyes were burning and full of suspicion. Bailey Han knew that he couldn't hide it from her, so he briefly told her what happened in the afternoon. Madame Gu couldn't help but sigh. "I didn't expect Xingqian to be so vicious. Yunqian is her cousin." She deliberately avoided Xiaodong. Bailey Han pursed his lips and didn't say a word. Madame Gu seemed to have been hit by this incident. She waved her hand tiredly. "According to customs, Yunqian is getting married from her parents' home. It's getting late. You should send her back quickly. Let Xiao Yi stay in the mansion tonight." Bailey Han bid farewell to Madame Gu and walked out of the study. On the other side, Su Yunqian watched Bailey Han and Madame Gu go upstairs. She suggested that Bailey Yi go back to his room to rest. Bailey Yi dismissed the servants and sat down beside the unfinished game of Go. He didn't even raise his head as he answered, "Auntie Yunqian, please wait a moment." Su Yunqian could only sit beside him and watch him play Go with himself. His small face looked serious. Sometimes he frowned, sometimes he curled his lips, and sometimes he moved the Go pieces. After about 10 minutes, the sensor hidden under his sleeve suddenly vibrated. He nonchalantly pushed away the unfinished Go pieces and stood up. He smiled politely like a gentleman. "Auntie Yunqian, we can go now." Su Yunqian glanced at the Go board. "Why aren't you playing? You haven't finished yet, have you?" He shrugged indifferently. His rosy cheeks looked mature. "I'm bored. I'm not playing anymore." "All right, let's go upstairs." Su Yunqian's lips twitched. She smiled and bent down, wanting to hold his hand. He reached out his hand Gigai and let her hold it. She led him up the stairs. When they turned the corner, he suddenly looked up and asked curiously, "Auntie Yunqian, who is Godfather?" Su Yunqian was stunned for a moment. She suddenly laughed. "Xiao Yi, why did you suddenly ask this question?" Bailey Yi looked innocent. He blinked and said, "Because I heard you talking to Godfather on the phone that night. I actually know who Godfather is. Godfather is the middleman of the murder organization in a city. Am I right, Auntie Yunqian?" When he heard the title, Godfather, that night, he secretly looked up his identity, but he didn't find any information. Later, Xia Xiaobao wanted to work with him, so he specially asked Xia Xiaobao. He didn't expect that guy to tell him that Godfather was the middleman of the murder organization just by typing on the computer. He was jealous of that guy's database for a long time. Su Yunqian's expression changed. She lowered her voice. "Xiao Yi, don't talk nonsense. The person on the phone with me that night was the priest of the church. We were discussing the wedding, not Godfather. But I heard it very clearly. You called him Godfather." Bailey Yi raised his voice. His pink cheeks had an innocent look of doubt. Auntie Yunqian, why did you contact Godfather? Are you going to ask him to help you kill people? His voice was very loud, and it sounded very clear in the empty stairwell. Su Yunqian panicked and subconsciously covered his mouth. Xiao Yi, why would I do that kind of thing? Don't talk nonsense. Bailey Yi struggled. He used both his hands to pry her hands away and kicked her calves. His bright eyes stared at her, making her feel like she was being seen through. She reflexively covered his mouth even harder. His mouth and nose were covered, and he felt very uncomfortable. His white cheeks turned red, and his black eyes were filled with tears. He looked extremely pitiful. Su Yunqian didn't feel any pity for him. She was panicking, afraid that he would tell others about this. Coincidentally, there was no one around, so no one would know what she was doing. Bailey Yi suddenly bit her palm. His sharp teeth made her palm hurt, and she subconsciously pushed him away. Bailey Han came down from the study on the 3rd floor and slowly walked down. When he reached the stairs on the 2nd floor, he suddenly heard Bailey Yi say loudly, Auntie Yunqian, why did you contact Godfather? Are you going to ask him to help you kill people? He suddenly stopped in his tracks. There was suddenly no sound downstairs. His heart tightened, and he quickened his pace to run downstairs. Then, he saw a shocking scene. His son rolled down the stairs, and Su Yunqian stood on the stairs like a statue. She seemed to be scared out of her wits. Come and see. Songshu 566. Chapter 127. Su Yunqian appeared to be scared out of her wits, but in fact, she had already heard the sound of hurried footsteps. She rushed downstairs before Bailey Han could, shouting in a panic, Xiao Yi, Xiao Yi. A black shadow suddenly flashed past. She was fast, but Bailey Han was faster than her. He sprinted madly, trying to catch the little ball that was rolling faster and faster, but he couldn't catch him no matter how hard he tried. Bailey Han simply threw himself forward and rolled down with all his might. The moment the little ball landed on the ground, he stomped his feet and crawled on the ground, using his own body to cushion his son's body. The moment Bailey Yi hit his back, he quickly put his hands behind his back to protect him, then carried him to his front. Xiao Yi, Xiao Yi. Bailey Han's low voice was filled with anxiety. He suddenly looked up at Su Yunqian, who was stunned. What are you doing? Call an ambulance. This was the first time Su Yunqian had seen him so angry. She pinched her palm with her fingernails and quickly ran to the landline. His son's eyes were tightly shut. His little face was pale and bloodless, and his forehead was bleeding. Bailey Han's heart ached. He picked him up from the ground and placed him steadily on the sofa. With such a big commotion in the living room, old Madam and the others were finally alarmed. They all came downstairs and saw Bailey Yi lying there unconscious. They were so shocked that they almost fainted. With Bai Jinqiu's help, old Madam trembled as she approached. What's going on? How is Xiao Yi? Xiao Yi was unconscious, and Bailey Han's face was pale. He said in a low voice, Xiao Yi rolled down the stairs and injured his forehead. We can only know if it's serious after the examination. Old Madam's body trembled, and Bai Jinqiu quickly held her and comforted her. Mom, don't worry. Xiao Yi will be fine. The ambulance rushed over quickly, and Bailey Han followed them into the ambulance. The driver drove old Madam, Bai Jinqiu, and Su Yunqian to the hospital. As soon as the doctor came out of the emergency room, Bailey's family members anxiously surrounded him. Old Madam asked anxiously, Doctor, how is Xiao Yi? Old Madam, little young master's injury is not serious. It's just a slight concussion. He will wake up soon. Thank God, thank God. Old Madam clasped her hands together and murmured. Bailey Han's face relaxed. Doctor, it's been hard on you. Young master, this is what I should do. After the doctor left, Bailey Yi's family members, of course, Bailey Han, of course, of course, of course, of course, of course. Seeing his son lying quietly on the bed with a pale face and a slight frown on his handsome face, Bailey Han's heart tightened. Old Madam burst into tears and held his little hand. No matter how her family members persuaded her, she insisted on staying by Xiao Yi's side and waiting for him to wake up. Su Yunqian stood by Bailey Yi's bed and comforted him softly at the right time. Bai Jinqiu said warmly, "Ah Han, you and Yunqian should go back and rest first. You will have to work hard tomorrow. Old Madam and I will stay in the hospital tonight." Bailey Han looked at his son and said calmly, "Cancel the wedding first." What? Bai Jinqiu's eyes widened in shock. "Ah Han, do you know what you're talking about?" Su Yunqian couldn't believe her ears. She widened her beautiful eyes and looked at Bailey Han, waiting for his explanation. Bailey Han's gaze swept across everyone present calmly and he said indifferently, "Mom, you didn't hear wrong. I want to cancel the wedding. Yunqian, I'll take you home first." With that, he turned to leave. Su Yunqian grabbed his arm and said in a trembling voice, "Han, why? Why do you want to cancel the wedding? Is it because Xiao Yi is injured?" Bailey Han suddenly turned around and stared at her with his deep and sharp eyes. His thin lips were tightly pursed, as if he was restraining himself. After a long while, he said in a cold voice, "Yes, Xiao Yi is injured. As his father, I can't abandon him at this time." Su Yunqian's grip on his arm gradually tightened. Her beautiful eyes were covered with a layer of mist. She bit her lip and said pitifully, "Han, let's postpone the wedding. Don't cancel it, okay? When Xiao Yi recovers, we'll hold the wedding, okay?" She was so compromising that even Bai Jinqiu couldn't stand it anymore. "Ah Han, Yunqian is right. If we suddenly cancel the wedding, what will everyone think of the Bailey family? Why don't we postpone it?" Old Madam Bai also spoke, "Ah Han, why do you want to cancel the wedding?" Bailey Han's face was gloomy and his eyes were filled with complicated emotions. He didn't say the reason but pushed Su Yunqian's hand away and said coldly, "It's getting late. I'll take you home." Without saying another word, he turned around and left. Su Yunqian forced a smile and said goodbye to old Madam Bai and Bai Jinqiu. When she walked out of the hospital, Bailey Han was already sitting in the car waiting for her. He didn't open the car door for her as usual. She opened the door herself and got in. With a cold face, he didn't say a word and started the car. Outside the car window, the night scene was gorgeous. She looked at his perfect side profile. "Han, why did you cancel the wedding? I want to know the reason." Screech, with the sharp sound of the brakes, Bailey Han suddenly stopped the car by the side of the road. His thin lips were tightly pursed, indicating that he had tolerated it to the extreme. He stared at her with his cold eyes. Xiao Yi rolled down the stairs. "It wasn't an accident, was it?" Her heart tightened, but her face revealed a startled expression. "Han, what do you mean by this?" Little Wingzy accidentally rolled down the stairs. His eyes were filled with pain. "You're still lying to me. I heard your conversation with Xiao Yi. Is it because Xiao Yi knows that you're in contact with Godfather that you're so cruel to him?" "Han, how can you say that about me? Am I that kind of cruel and merciless person? I like Xiao Yi, and I want to be his mommy. How can I treat him like that?" Su Yunqian complained with tears in her eyes. "Han, so you've never believed me. You must think that Mikakito is right and that I'm the mastermind behind the murder of Xiaodong, right?" She looked like she was about to cry, and his heart softened for a moment. However, when he thought of what his son said and the dangerous moment when he rolled down the stairs, he couldn't help but doubt it. Yunqian, cancel the wedding first. I need to calm down and think carefully. He looked at her and said word by word, Xiao Yi is very important to me. I hope that the woman who marries me is sincere to him. Su Yunqian smiled miserably. I understand. In your heart, your son will always be the most important, right? No matter what I do, you won't believe me. 6 years of feelings, in your heart, what is it worth? Bailey Han gripped the steering wheel tightly and said slowly, I love you, and I love Xiao Yi. Whether or not Yunqian pushed him down the stairs on purpose, everything would be revealed when Xiao Yi woke up. The moment his son rolled down the stairs, his heart almost stopped. His son was a part of his life. As a father, he was no longer a good father. He couldn't be selfish anymore. He wanted his son to grow up healthily and happily. He knew that his son didn't like Yunqian, but he deliberately ignored it. As a result, today's incident happened. It was time for him to think clearly. Bailey Han, the CEO of Xinghao Corporation, cancelled the wedding and became explosive news. However, it was quickly overshadowed by another piece of news. That was, Su Xingchen broke into the house and threatened to kidnap someone. At the same time, he deliberately hurt someone and threw acid at them. In the end, he ended up with a disfigured face. Xia Dong didn't know what methods Mikakito used to expose Su Xingchen's kidnapping and threatening of Liu. She was sent to prison. Of course, Lu Xing disfigured her face, so it was justified as self-defense. Xia Dong also saw the news of Bailey Han cancelling the wedding. Although the parties involved didn't mention the reason, she guessed that it was because Su Yunqian's hand was injured and couldn't hold the wedding as scheduled. She didn't think much about it. That day, she asked the director to resign. The director was shocked and talked to her for a long time. When he found out that she was leaving to treat her daughter, he had no choice but to agree to her resignation. On the other hand, Mikakito had already prepared the procedures to go abroad. She also arranged the company's affairs. She was waiting for Xia Dong to finish the handover. Then, the two of them would take the children to Rome. Xia Dong explained the situation to Yi Siki and took the children to her aunt's house to say goodbye. After hesitating for a long time, she said, Aunt, I plan to take the children to Italy. It will take about 9 months before I return to China. Why do you suddenly want to go to Italy? Did something happen? Because she deliberately hid it, Xia Yun didn't know what happened during this period. She didn't know about Xiao Guai's illness and thought that she was just suffering from anemia. Xia Dong smiled. No, Aunt. Didn't I tell you before that I found a foster father in Italy? He's not in good health and misses the children. So, I'm taking the children to stay with him for a while. Xia Yun patted her forehead. Look at my memory. I remember now. How's his health? Is it serious? It's an old illness. It's not serious, but he needs to recuperate. He doesn't have any relatives, so I want to take care of him for a while. Xia Dong felt guilty when she lied to her kind aunt. I see. Go ahead then. Your uncle and I are still healthy. Don't worry. Xia Yun smiled kindly and was very supportive of her actions. I heard you say that when you were in Italy, he helped you a lot. Now, it's only right for you to accompany him. Thank you, Aunt. Xia Dong hugged her shamefully. She smiled and patted Xia Dong's back. Why are you thanking me? You're treating me like an outsider. Remember to call me often to let me know that you're safe. You also have to take care of Xiao Guai's health. Xia, when are you leaving? In a week. We'll leave after the handover of the company's affairs. Xia Dong was preparing to go abroad, but she didn't know that she couldn't leave anymore. Welfare, Hongcha 866. Chapter 128. Xinghao Group. Bailey Han was gathering his subordinates to deal with the cooperation with the United States when his phone rang. He picked up the phone almost at lightning speed. His voice was low and a little hoarse. "Grandma, how is Xiao Yi?" Old Madam Han sighed. "Xiao Yi is awake, but you should come to the hospital." Bailey Han had been worried about his son when he was working. When he heard old Madam Han's words, his heart jumped again. He hung up the phone and said to his subordinates, "We'll talk about the cooperation in the afternoon." Then, he took his car keys and left quickly. He drove all the way to the VIP ward. Old Madam Han was sitting by Xiao Yi's bed with red eyes. Xiao Yi had already woken up. He was lying on the bed expressionlessly with his small lips slightly pursed. "Grandma." Bailey Han greeted old Madam Han and bent down to touch his son's head. Xiao Yi tilted his head and dodged. Bailey Han sat down and softened his voice. "Xiao Yi, do you feel any discomfort?" Xiao Yi did not speak. His dark eyes stared quietly at the ceiling as if he did not hear his question. "Xiao Yi." Bailey Han frowned. Was his son throwing a tantrum? "Don't shout. He can't hear you." Old Madam Han choked. Bailey Han's expression changed drastically. He reached out his hand, ignoring little Wingzi's attempts to dodge, and touched his head. Little Wingzi immediately shrieked like a frightened little beast, his hands and feet kicking around wildly. "Ah! Ah!" He screamed in horror. His eyes were full of fear, but he did not say anything. Bailey Han's heart sank. He quickly withdrew his hand. His screams gradually faded, and the fear in his eyes slowly dissipated. His bright black eyes became blank and dull. Bailey Han looked at his smart and obedient son suddenly become like this. His heart suddenly ached. "Grandma, what's going on? How did Xiao Yi become like this?" The old madam looked miserable. "Xiao Yi became like this when he woke up. No matter how we called him, he didn't seem to hear us. If we tried to touch him, he would scream and become very emotional. The doctor said that this is a symptom of autism." Bailey Han did not believe that his son would be autistic. He went to the attending doctor's office with an ugly expression. "Doctor, my son has always been normal. How did he suddenly become autistic?" "Mr. Bailey, young master's autism is not caused by hereditary factors. Instead, he suffered a great shock in an accident, which caused the malfunction of his brain cells and affected the function of the brain's nerves to transmit information, which led to autism." Bailey Han's pupils suddenly shrank. "Can it be cured?" Based on the young master's condition, he is mainly affected by psychological factors. The possibility of recovery is still relatively high. But I suggest that parents don't be too impatient. Relax, relax, get rid of the child's negative emotions, and communicate with him step by step. The doctor talked about a lot of precautions before treatment for autism. Bailey Han listened patiently and asked questions from time to time. In the process of talking with the doctor, his attitude became more positive. He believed that there would be a way to cure his son's autism. But the reality was that Bailey Yi's condition was getting worse and worse. He completely isolated himself in his own world and ignored the people and things around him. He silently did his own things. Sometimes he would draw, sometimes he would play chess with himself, sometimes he would sit in front of the window and stare blankly. Sometimes he would sit there for the whole day. As long as someone wanted to touch him, he would scream like a frightened little beast, baring his fangs and brandishing his claws. With his current condition, there was no way he could go back to school. He didn't even take the final exams. Although Bailey Han cancelled the wedding, which had a certain impact on the Bailey family and the Su family. The Bailey family was busy trying to find a way to cure Xiao Yi's illness. They didn't have the time to pay attention to the outside world. The Su family was different. First, there was the scandal of Su Xingqian. Then, the proud daughter of heaven, Su Yunqian and Bailey Han cancelled the wedding. Although it wasn't as sad as being abandoned, the inside story was enough for the media to speculate for a long time. The Su family's reputation fell to the bottom. Facing the swarm of media, Su Yunqian was indifferent and elegant. Her goddess-like temperament was vividly displayed. Although everyone was still speculating, their attitude towards her was a lot friendlier. She avoided the media and stepped into the hospital. This was the hospital where Su Xingqian was staying. Because Su Xingqian was splashed with strong acid, 20% of his face was severely burned. It was a third-degree burn. After being detained, he applied for medical parole through his connections. Now, he was still staying in the hospital. When Su Yunqian went to visit him, Xia Zhenqing was by his bedside. He looked a lot older and the hair on his temples was white. As for Su Xingqian, her entire head was wrapped in gauze, only revealing 2 eyes. Because of the burns on her respiratory tract, she couldn't open her mouth to speak. When she saw Su Yunqian appear at the door of the ward, her eyes were like copper bells. Her gaze was like a sharp blade, fiercely glaring at Su Yunqian. She made a gurgling sound from her throat and raised her hands in agitation, as if she wanted to strangle her. Xia Zhenqing quickly grabbed her arm. Xingqian, don't be agitated. Be careful of your wound. Su Yunqian's eyes flashed with a trace of ridicule. She had a gentle smile on her face. Uncle, I'm here to see Xingqian. How is she now? Xia Zhenqing sighed. Her situation isn't very good. The burns on her skin are very deep. I heard from the doctor that we can only use conservative treatment now. Only when her wound scabs over can we perform skin grafting surgery. Su Yunqian turned her gaze back to Su Xingqian and said gently, Xingqian, you have to listen to the doctor's words and take care of yourself. You'll get better. Xia Zhenqing said guiltily, Yunqian, Xingqian treated you so badly, but you still came to see her. I apologize on behalf of Xingqian. Su Yunqian smiled. Uncle, you're treating me like an outsider. We're family. No matter what Xingqian did, she's still my cousin. Su Xingqian's eyes widened. She wanted to dig a few holes in her body with her gaze. The gurgling sound from her throat also became louder. Su Yunqian held her hand that was grasping in the air and said gently, Xingqian, I know what you want to say. Don't worry, I've already forgiven you. Don't let your thoughts run wild. Take care of yourself and get better soon. Su Xingqian couldn't care less about the piercing pain on her face. She shook her bandaged head. Xingqian, don't be so agitated. I'll visit you again in the future. Su Yunqian thoughtfully patted the back of her hand. She stood up and said to Xia Zhenqing, Uncle, I'll leave first. I won't disturb Xingqian's rest. Yunqian, thank you for visiting Xingqian. Be careful on your way back. Xia Zhenqing walked her to the door. Okay, Uncle. You should go back and take care of Xingqian. Walking out of the hospital, Su Yunqian smiled. Han was suspicious of her. He didn't care about her reputation and cancelled the wedding. Now, he didn't even take the initiative to contact her. She was extremely depressed. Now that she had visited Su Xingqian, she felt much better. Su Yunqian didn't go back to the company. Now that Han was ignoring her, it was better to start with the old madam. She drove to the old mansion and chatted with the old madam for a while. After confirming that Han didn't tell the old madam what Xiao Yi said, she felt much more at ease. Next, she wanted to check on Xiao Yi. She wanted to see how sick he was and whether he would tell anyone about her. After greeting the old madam, she was led by a servant to Bailey Yi's room. The servant reminded her, "Miss Sue, the young master hates being touched. Please don't touch him." Su Yunqian nodded. "I understand. You can leave first." After watching the servant leave, Su Yunqian locked the door and walked in. Bailey Yi sat in the empty art room. His small body was standing in front of the easel. He held a watercolor pen in his hand and painted on the canvas. "Xiao Yi." Su Yunqian approached him and tried to call his name. He turned a deaf ear and didn't respond at all. His hands continued to paint. His bright black eyes quietly stared at the canvas. He was completely immersed in his own world. Su Yunqian walked to his side. When she saw what he had painted, she couldn't help but be shocked. On the large canvas, there were only two colors, black and red. There was not a trace of light in the dark sky, and the ground was covered in the bright red color. A lonely little figure stood between the black and red colors, and the whole picture was shrouded in a strange and frightening atmosphere. Su Yunqian stretched out her hand and pointed at the little figure in the painting. "Xiao Yi, is this you?" Xiao Yi still didn't say a word. He picked a white watercolor pen and painted on the outline of the little figure. Soon, the white figure became conspicuous at the intersection of the black and red. However, with the overall color combination, it became even more strange. "Xiao Yi." Su Yunqian stretched out her hand tentatively. He didn't move and looked at the canvas seriously. Her slender and fair fingers slowly landed on his thin and weak shoulders. Xiao Yi seemed to have gone crazy. He kicked and hit her violently and scratched her arm with his fingernails. This scream came from Su Yunqian. There were 3 red scratches on her arm. She quickly withdrew her hand and retreated away from him. "What's wrong? What's wrong? Miss Sue, hurry and open the door." Hearing the scream, everyone in the villa was alarmed. The servants who rushed over first kept knocking on the door. "It's nothing. Wait a moment. I'll open the door right away." Su Yunqian glanced at Bailey Yi, who was still screaming. She tidied her hair and quickly walked forward to open the door. "Little young master," the servant wanted to go forward, but he was afraid of disturbing Bailey Yi. He didn't know what to do. At this moment, the old madam rushed over with her walking stick. Trembling, she walked to Xiao Yi's side. She didn't dare to reach out to hug him. She only comforted him gently. "Yi darling, don't be afraid. Great-grandma is here." Ad Hongcha 866. Chapter 129. The servant hurriedly brought a chair over and placed it beside old madam. Old madam sat down and looked at Bailey Yi, who was holding his head and screaming. She coaxed him gently over and over again. After an unknown amount of time, little Wingsy finally calmed down. He picked up the paintbrush again and painted on the canvas as if nothing had happened. Old madam endured the intense heartache and praised him with a smile. "Baby Yi is so amazing. The painting is so beautiful." Xiao Yi's small body stood upright like a statue without any reaction. "Let's go. Let's not disturb baby Yi." Old madam sighed in her heart and stood up with the help of the servant. After walking out of Xiao Yi's room, Su Yunqian followed old madam to the living room. Old madam asked someone to do a simple treatment for her wound. Su Yunqian looked apologetic. "Grandma, it's all my fault. If I hadn't caught Xiao Yi that night, he wouldn't have fallen down the stairs and this wouldn't have happened." Old madam sighed. "It's not your fault. Yunqian, why did Xiao Yi suddenly fall ill?" Su Yunqian felt even more apologetic. "I wanted to communicate with Xiao Yi and see if I could get his attention. I didn't expect him to suddenly scream when I pointed at the painting and praised him, old madam said doubtfully. Xiao Yi only gets emotional when others touch him. Are you sure you didn't touch him? I really didn't. I only touched his painting. I didn't expect it to turn out like this. Grandma, I'm sorry, old madam frowned. Could it be that Xiao Yi's condition has worsened? What should we do? Su Yunqian said, Grandma, I've asked some doctor friends. They said that it's best to send Xiao Yi to a rehabilitation center. They have professional rehabilitation training that will help Xiao Yi. The old madam also understood that this was a good idea, but Xiao Yi's identity was special. She was worried that it would cause unnecessary trouble. After thinking for a while, she said, why don't we hire a psychotherapist to treat Xiao Yi at home? In the evening, when Bailey Han came back from the company, the old lady told him about her idea. Of course, Bailey Han did not object, but he refused the psychotherapist introduced by Su Yunqian. Before the truth was made clear, he was already on guard against her. After pondering for a moment, he said, Grandma, don't let Yunqian get close to Xiao Yi in the future. Why do you say that? Old madam's eyes flashed sharply. She was suspicious. He said faintly, Xiao Yi was too emotional when she saw her. I'm just thinking for Xiao Yi's sake. I don't mean anything else. When he heard Xiao Yi's words on the stairs, he did not tell anyone because he did not want to wrongly accuse a good person. Deep in his heart, he hoped that Xiao Yi's words were false. He also hoped that Su Yunqian had nothing to do with Xiao Yi's accident. In fact, Bailey Han had also consulted many experts and contacted a top psychotherapist. The psychotherapist was called Lin Yi. He was around 30 years old. He was polite and gentle. Every day, he would go to Bailey's old house and treat Bailey Yi for an hour. Lin Yi advised the parents to maintain a fixed time every day to communicate with the child alone. Even if the child did not respond, they should insist on talking to him or doing something to cultivate his understanding of the outside world. Lin Yi said, the lack of social skills is the biggest obstacle for an autistic child. Parents should create opportunities for the child to interact with people around him. Young master has many friends in kindergarten. You can invite them to the house as guests. You can also raise some small animals at home so that young master can reduce his fear of social interactions and improve his social skills in the process of raising animals. Looking at his son sitting alone in the corner, Bailey Han's heart ached. He suddenly realized that his son was very lonely. He lacked maternal love since he was young and did not have any playmates of the same age. Although he was young, he had already developed a restrained and calm personality. He would not even show his emotions on his face. After thinking for a long time, Bailey Han called Xia Dong. At this time, Xia Dong had already finished the handover work. Mika Kito had also booked the plane tickets for the four of them to fly to Italy. She was packing at home when she suddenly received a call from Bailey Han. She glanced at the children playing in the living room and returned to her room. She pressed the answer button. Hello, Mr. Bailey. Bailey Han paused and said, Xia Dong, I want to ask you for a favor. His voice was very sincere. Xia Dong could even imagine his serious expression. Tell me. If I can help, I will definitely do it. His voice lowered with an imperceptible heaviness. My son, a few days ago, he fell down the stairs. Xia Dong stood up abruptly and asked agitatedly, Is he all right? Bailey Han rubbed his eyebrows. He was not seriously injured. However, after he woke up, he was diagnosed with autism. The doctor said that it was because of the stimulation that caused his brain cells to malfunction, autism. Xia Dong sat down on the sofa dejectedly. There was still a trace of panic on her face. Can it be cured? There is a possibility of a cure. Bailey Han spoke conservatively of the doctor's opinion. According to the psychotherapist, it is best to let Xiao Yi interact more with the people around him. Therefore, I want to invite Xiao Bao and Xiao Guai to accompany him at home. Xia Dong held her forehead and was extremely conflicted. Xiao Yi was diagnosed with autism. She was very worried and wanted to accompany him and help him out of his own world. However, she had always protected Xiao Bao and Xiao Guai from the Bailey family. If she really brought them to the Bailey family, would it arouse suspicion? Moreover, with Xiao Guai's current situation, he could be in danger at any time. She did not dare to send her daughter to the Bailey family. Both the palm and the back of the hand were flesh and blood. How should he choose? She did not know what to do. After hesitating for a long time, she asked in a hoarse voice, "Can I find other children?" There was no emotion in his voice. Xiao Yi doesn't have any friends. If you don't want to, I won't force you. The phone call ended. Xia Dong held the phone and her heart ached. The words "doesn't have any friends" kept echoing in her mind. She could almost imagine how lonely Xiao Yi must be. He had no siblings, no playmates, no mother's love. Even though he was injured, he still armed himself with a cold expression. He was only 4 years old. She bit her fist hard as tears of heartache flowed down her cheeks. Knock, knock. There was a knock on the door. She quickly wiped her tears and forced a smile in the mirror. When she opened the door, she was stunned. "Brother Shin, why are you here?" Mikakito could tell at a glance that her eyes were red. He frowned. What happened? She invited him in. "I'm fine. How about you? Why didn't you go to the office?" Mikakito sat down on the chair. "I've already settled the matters at the office. I came to see how your luggage is." His deep black eyes landed on her face and he said in a domineering tone, "Tell me, what exactly happened?" Xia Dong knew that she could not persuade him, so she told him about Bailey Han's call and her dilemma. Mikakito did not expect to encounter such a tricky situation before he left. His eyes darkened. He poured a cup of tea and placed it in front of her. Xia, I know that you have always felt guilty towards that child and want to make it up to him. However, you are pregnant now. This is a critical time. I don't want anything to happen to you. I know. Xiao Guai is still waiting for me to give birth to the baby safely. Xia Dong stroked her abdomen and smiled bitterly. But Xiao Yi is also my child. I really can't ignore him at this time. Mikakito's eyes flashed with helplessness. He actually had selfish motives. He wanted to take her away from here and not be involved with Bailey Han. However, fate always played tricks on people. His eyes darkened. Xia, you've already made your decision, haven't you? Xia Dong leaned against the sofa and supported her forehead with one hand. She looked a little tired. Brother Shin, I want to stay and help Xiao Yi cure her autism. She smiled at him. Su Xingchen is already in prison. I don't think anyone will harm me anymore. Mikakito shook his head. This girl was still too naive. She did not know that Su Xingchen had a backer. Otherwise, how could she have planned such a big conspiracy by herself? However, he knew that it was useless for him to say anything. Since she had already made her decision, he could only support her. He frowned and said, Xiao Guai's health is not good. It's better not to let her go to Bailey's house. I'll talk to Xiao Bao. Xiao Bao and Bailey Yi were sworn enemies. It would be difficult to persuade him to visit Xiao Yi like a close friend. Sure enough, as soon as Mikakito mentioned this matter, the little girl was like a firecracker. She jumped on the bed unhappily. No. Why should I help him? I want to go to Rome. I want to see God Grandfather. I don't want to stay here. Mom can't stay here either. His mother was always in danger here. He did not want his mother to take risks for that annoying Bailey Yi. Mikito rubbed his head. Xiao Bao, stop messing around. I know you're worried about your mommy. I'll protect her. Xiao Bao pouted. Then what about Sweetie? What about Sweetie? Gigai will also stay in China. When Xiao Yi recovers, we'll go to Italy. Xiao Bao disagreed. It was autism. How could it be cured in 2 or 3 days? It seemed that they would not be able to leave in a short period of time. However, how did Bailey Yi, that annoying fellow, contract this disease? Autistic. More like arrogant. Xiao Bao, Gigai, be good. Don't make things difficult for your mommy. Alright then. I want to make it clear that I'm not staying for that annoying guy. I'm staying for mommy. I know. You love your mommy the most. Mikito rubbed his hair in amusement. In the living room, Xia Dong called Bailey Han back. She tried to speak in a calm voice. Mr. Bailey, when do you think it's convenient? I'll send Xiao Bao to Bailey's house. Welfare, Hongcha 866. Chapter 130. Bailey Han tightened his grip on the phone. Only he knew how shocked he was. What do you think about 4 o'clock every afternoon? No problem, I will send Xiao Bao there on time. Xia Dong paused and asked nervously, can I see Xiao Yi? Bailey Han was silent for a few seconds. Okay, I will arrange it. Actually, Bailey Han was also in trouble. He had just mentioned his idea to the old madam, but the old madam had vetoed it. No matter what, she would not allow Xia Dong's son to accompany Xiao Yi. Is it Xia Dong calling? Tell her that we don't need her fake kindness, and we definitely won't allow Xia Xiao Bao to walk through the Bailey family's door. When Bailey Han picked up the phone, the old madam was in the living room, shouting angrily. Bailey Han was helpless. Grandma, I am doing this for Xiao Yi's sake. The old madam raised her voice. Xiao Yi has so many classmates. Why did she choose Xia Xiao Bao? I hate Xia Dong. I will not allow anyone with the surname Qi to come close to our house. The old madam's stubborn temper was acting up again. Bailey Han was speechless. Grandma, although Xiao Yi has many classmates, she has never dated them. Xiao Bao and Xiao Yi have similar personalities. Who knows, she might be able to stimulate him. I don't understand. Why do you hate Xia Dong so much? The old madam choked and said angrily, there is no reason. I just hate her. Grandma, can you not be so unreasonable? Because of his son, he was already in a terrible fix. It was really hard for him to coax the old madam. He rubbed his eyebrows and said, I have already talked to Xia Dong. She will bring Xiao Bao over at 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. I will try my best to rush back tomorrow. Why are you coming back? Are you worried that I will give her a hard time? Bailey Han's mouth twitched as he hit the nail on the head. Old Madam exclaimed, no, I haven't agreed to let her come over. Grandma, he was at his wit's end with this stubborn old child, so he brought up his precious son. Grandma, do you want to see Xiao Yi continue to be like this? Trust me, doing this will be good for Xiao Yi's condition. The old madam turned her gaze and saw her precious great-grandson standing by the window in a daze. The resentment and anger in her heart gradually dissipated. She had heard of Xia Xiao Bao and knew that he was very smart. Every time her little great-grandson mentioned him, he would gnash his teeth in anger. She wasn't that old and senile. She could tell that although they were rivals, there was a faint sense of empathy between them. Perhaps Xiao Bao could really stimulate Xiao Yi and improve his condition. She pondered and struggled for a long time, unable to make up her mind. Suddenly, Xiao Yi, who was standing by the window with her back facing them, turned around and silently sat by the chessboard to play chess with herself. Bailey Han said indifferently, "Grandma, do you want to keep watching Xiao Yi play chess with yourself?" Which child of the same age didn't play in groups? Only Xiao Yi was always alone and didn't have any friends. The old madam closed her eyes and sighed. Forget it, forget it. Let them come. However, I have a condition. You can't let Xia Dong see Xiao Yi. If the mother and son met, what if Xia Dong had any ideas? Bailey Han frowned. I've already promised her. A strange smile appeared on the old madam's lips. So what if you've agreed? Anyway, the decision is in my hands. Don't worry, I won't embarrass her tomorrow. At 4:00 in the afternoon, Xia Dong drove the BMW with Xiao Bao to the Old Bailey residence. A servant led them in. The housekeeper was waiting at the door and bowed politely. Miss Xia, please rest in the living room. Young Master Xia, please follow me upstairs. Xia Dong's eyes moved. Housekeeper, I want to go upstairs to see young master. The housekeeper looked troubled. Miss Xia, I'm very sorry. Without the old madam's permission, no one can see young master. Bailey Han had already promised her, but now the old madam jumped out to block her way. Xia Dong wanted to flip out, but she thought that there was still a long way to go, so she controlled herself. She bent over and reminded Xiao Bao, Bao Bao, remember mommy's words. You have to be friendly to Xiao Yi. Don't worry, Mom. I know what to do. Xiao Bao pouted disapprovingly. He waved his hand and swayed his little butt as he followed the housekeeper upstairs. Xia Dong watched their figures disappear at the top of the stairs before she sat down on the sofa. Immediately, a servant came forward to make her a cup of tea and considerately brought her newspapers and magazines. The living room was very quiet. The servant looked down and stood to the side. Xia Dong casually flipped through the magazine. On the surface, she looked like she was staring at the magazine, but in reality, she was listening attentively, hoping to hear what was going on upstairs. However, she was disappointed. Other than the sound of her flipping through the magazine, she couldn't hear anything else. On the second floor, Xia Xiaobao swaggered into Bailey Yi's room. In front of the large floor-to-ceiling window, a small figure was sitting on the ground. He was facing the window, holding a thick book and reading quietly. There were many books scattered around his feet. Xiao Bao glanced at the housekeeper standing at the door. His pink cheeks puffed up, and he quickly ran to Bailey Yi's side. He squatted down and looked at the book in his arms. He exclaimed, "Not bad, you're actually reading Sun Tzu's Art of War. Can you understand it?" Bailey Yi ignored him and focused on reading his book. Sigh, so boring. Xiao Bao shook his head and sat down. He moved his little butt to Bailey Yi's side and nudged him with his elbow. Hey, you jerk, I'm a guest and you're the host. How can you leave me here and read by yourself? That kid poked the young master. The housekeeper was on high alert, waiting for his young master to scream and fly into a rage. But to his surprise, he did not react at all. The housekeeper could not help but rub his eyes, thinking that he was seeing things because of his age. Oh, you jerk, at least pay attention to me. Xiao Bao had been acting alone for a long time and was starting to go crazy. He shamelessly lay on the ground and rolled around, bumping into Bailey Yi from time to time. He did not dodge, nor did he scream. He was as quiet as a statue. The housekeeper, who had been standing upright, began to stiffen. His eyeballs were about to pop out of their sockets. He was not seeing things. The young master did not reject Xia Xiaobao's touch. It was too touching. He had to report this to the old madam immediately. The old housekeeper threw the surveillance mission that the old madam had given him to the back of his mind. He ran out of Bailey Yi's room with tears streaming down his face and rushed up to the study on the 3rd floor. His footsteps were so vigorous that it was impossible to tell that he was in his 60s. Xia Xiaobao glanced at the empty doorway and quickly rolled to Bailey Yi's side. He kicked his little butt. "Hey, Bailey Yi, there's no one here now. You don't have to pretend anymore." Bailey Yi did not move or speak. Xia Xiaobao climbed up and moved closer to him. He blinked his big eyes and looked at him. "Bailey Yi, I asked you to pretend that you were hurt by an annoying woman. Your father, who dotes on you, will definitely hate that woman. I didn't expect you to be such a genius and come up with something like autism. I can't even go to Italy because of you. You're so annoying." Bailey Yi still didn't speak. He quietly flipped through the pages of the book. F***CK, are you addicted to pretending? Xia Xiaobao was angry. No one had ever dared to ignore him to such an extent. He snatched the book from Bailey Yi's hand and threw it to the door. A pair of feet and a crutch appeared at the door. The old madam lowered her head and glanced at the book, Sun Tzu's Art of War, lying at her feet. Then, she calmly looked at Xia Xiaobao. This was the first time she had looked at Xia Xiaobao carefully. The short man was wearing a white t-shirt and denim shorts. His facial features were extremely delicate and he was not inferior to her precious great-grandson. He blinked his bright eyes innocently and had an innocent smile on his pink cheeks. His handsome and cute appearance made people want to take pity on him. The old madam smiled kindly. "You're Xia Xiaobao?" "Yes." Xiaobao wasn't afraid at all. He straightened his little body and raised his little chin to introduce himself seriously. "I'm Bailey Yi's classmate, Xia Xiaobao." The old madam walked over with her crutch and said with a smile, "Xiaobao, thank you for coming to visit our Xiao Yi." "You're welcome." He had an arrogant look on his face. "Although I don't really like Bailey Yi, my mommy told me to be friendly to my classmates. So, I will reluctantly visit him every day." The old housekeeper behind the old madam stumbled and almost fell. He wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. The old madam didn't mind his rude words. In fact, she liked his straightforward personality. She nodded approvingly. "Xiaobao, you and our Xiao Yi have similar personalities. I think you two will become good friends." Unfortunately, Xiaobao was Xia Dong's son. She really didn't want to have anything to do with that woman. The old madam's smile gradually faded when she thought of this. She said indifferently, "What game were you playing just now? Why did you throw the book at the door?" Xiaobao keenly sensed the change in her attitude. He snorted softly and walked over to Bailey Yi. "We were competing to see who could throw the book further." "Bailey Yi, don't you think so?" He patted Bailey Yi's shoulder with his small hand. The old madam and the old housekeeper widened their eyes. What a miracle! Xiao Yi really didn't scream or flip out. Although he didn't answer, he didn't reject other people's touch. This was a huge improvement. The old madam couldn't help but reach out her trembling hand and slowly place it on Bailey Yi's shoulder. He didn't scream. He was very quiet, quietly looking at the scenery outside the window. The old madam's eyes couldn't help but redden. She was so emotional that she covered her mouth and held back her tears. Attention, Songshu 566. Chapter 131. Old Madame Dowager wanted to hug his soft little body tightly, but she didn't dare and forced herself to hold back. He was looking out of the window with all his attention. She followed his gaze and saw a few pots of flowers blooming on the balcony. There was nothing special about them, but he was looking at them very seriously. Old Madame Dowager had mixed feelings. She was happy and sad at the same time. When she looked at Xiaobao again, her eyes were sincere. Xiaobao, Xiao Yi seems to like you a lot. Come and accompany him every day in the future. If you need anything, just tell great-grandma. Great-grandma will definitely satisfy you. Xiaobao was a little angry. This old grandma wasn't cute at all. She was warm to him one moment and cold to him the next. When she saw that he could be used, she immediately seduced him with benefits. Humph. But his mother had told him not to get into a conflict with Bailey's family, so he reluctantly paid attention to her. He blinked and revealed a sweet and innocent smile. There were even 2 cute dimples on his cheeks. Great-grandma, can I have anything I need? Old Madame Dowager nodded. His smile became even sweeter. I want my mommy to play with us. My mommy knows a lot of games. With her company, Bailey E will definitely recover faster. It was so boring to play with just the 2 of them. Also, his mother seemed to want to visit Bailey E very much. Although he didn't know why, he was happy as long as his mother was happy. Old Madame Dowager frowned. He puffed up his cheeks and said angrily, you can't even agree to such a simple request. Sigh, you adults just like to go back on your words. Old Madame Dowager struggled for a few seconds but still refused. This condition won't do. Xiaobao, change it. Xiaobao waved his little hand impatiently. Forget it. Adults are so wishy-washy. I'm so annoyed. I'm going back first. He moved closer to Bailey E and chuckled. Bailey E, I'll be leaving first. I'll come back to see you tomorrow. I'll bring you something fun tomorrow. Regardless of whether Bailey E was pretending or not, it was very boring to just sit there all day. He would be kind and save him this time. After all, he was a good person. Xiaobao stroked his chin and smiled proudly. Old madam, the old butler looked at Xiaobao, who was skipping away, with an awkward expression. Forget it, let him go. Xiao Yi is no longer against other people touching her. That's already a huge improvement. Old madam shook her head. In the living room, Xia Dong heard footsteps running up the stairs. She looked up and saw Xiaobao running over with a smile. She hugged him and wiped the sweat off his forehead. Baby, why are you running so fast? How's Xiao Yi's condition? Is it serious? Xiaobao puffed up his cheeks and thought for a few seconds. It seems quite serious. He didn't pay attention to me from beginning to end. I just kept talking to myself. Xia Dong's body stiffened, and her expression turned ugly. Xiaobao rolled his eyes and said, but I heard from that grandma that his condition is getting better. He didn't scream when I touched him. Xia Dong's frown eased. As long as there was hope for him to get better, it was fine. Holding her son's hand, she walked out of Bailey's house. Xia Dong went to the parking lot to get her car. She saw a Lamborghini drive over and stop in front of her. The car door opened, and a handsome and tall figure stepped out of the car. He was wearing a black shirt with the top 2 buttons unbuttoned, revealing his sexy chest. He wore tight jeans that hugged his enchanting waist and perky butt. He wore a pair of sunglasses that revealed his high nose and thin lips. He swung his beautiful long legs gracefully, and his devilish aura was unstoppable. She hadn't seen Bailey Yun for more than a month. She didn't expect him to be even more devilish than before. Bailey Yun put a finger to his mouth and whistled. A snow-white furry thing suddenly jumped out of the back seat of the Lamborghini. It happily swung its long fur and pounced on Bailey Yun. Alright, Daodu, stop fooling around. Bailey Yun patted the big dog's head and ruffled it. A handsome man who looked thin and weak walked over gracefully with a big dog that weighed more than 50 kilograms. Xiaobao tugged at Xia Dong's arm. Mom, what kind of creature is that? Xiaodong whispered, Son, that's the legendary Tibetan Mastiff. Bailey Yun took off his sunglasses and raised his foxy eyes. His lips curved into a cold smile. Oh, isn't this the fiancé of the great CEO Beitang? Xiaodong's mouth twitched. Fox, we haven't seen each other for more than a month. Is it necessary to mock me as soon as we meet? Bailey Yun's smile was cold. So you still remember me? I'm really honored. It's harder than ascending to heaven to see you. This woman had gotten engaged out of nowhere. He wanted to ask her about it, but he was always stopped by strange people. Later, he heard that she was sick. When he went to her house, the nanny said that she wasn't around. In short, it was harder than ascending to heaven for him to see her. Fox, is there a misunderstanding here? Xiaodong had never seen him looking for her. She was also entangled with trivial matters and had never contacted him. Bai Liyun took a deep breath. His beautiful foxy eyes narrowed as he said indifferently, Forget it. I'll be angered to death by you sooner or later if I bicker with a heartless woman like you. Hey, you're not allowed to reject my calls anymore. I didn't. Xiaodong immediately retorted. I didn't receive any calls from you at all. Bailey Yun frowned. His eyes suddenly turned cold and he stretched out his hand. Give me your phone. Xiaodong was puzzled. She took out her phone and handed it to him. He took the phone and fiddled with it for a while. Suddenly, he sneered. You've blacklisted my name. No wonder you can't answer my calls. I've never done that before. Xiaodong hurriedly explained. You don't have to explain. I think I know who did it. Bailey Yun's lips curled into a sloppy smile. It seems that your fiancé is very strict with you. This Mika Keto is really going all out to get rid of her love rival. Xiaodong instinctively retorted, No, Brother Shen isn't that kind of person. Bailey Yun's heart suddenly ached, but he still had a frivolous smile on his face. He pinched a strand of her hair with his fingers and leaned over to smell it. How intimate. No wonder you two even have a child. He glanced at Xiao Bao, who was standing beside Xiaodong's feet. Fox, Xiao Bao isn't, Xiaodong wanted to explain, but she swallowed her words. Forget it. You can think whatever you want. Xiao Bao, let's go. She opened the car door and carried her son into the car. She sat in the driver's seat expressionlessly. Damn it. Why didn't she explain? Was she really going to run away with another man? Bailey Yun gritted his teeth as he watched Xiaodong drive away. He was so angry that he stomped his feet. Lil P jumped over and rubbed her furry face against Bailey Yun's arm. Bailey Yun smiled bitterly. Lil P, it seems that you're the only one who knows me best in this world. Lil P rubbed against him affectionately. He chuckled and led Lil P to the old mansion. What are you doing here? Old Madame Dowager got angry when she saw Bailey Yun's sloppy attitude. Of course, she did not treat him well. Bailey Yun lowered his eyes to hide the coldness that flashed across his eyes. He stroked Lil P's furry head and said, Didn't the psychotherapist say that raising animals is good for treating autism? That's why I brought Lil P over to accompany Xiao Yi. Lil P stuck out her long tongue and stared at old Madame Dowager eagerly. She wagged her furry tail in a fawning manner. Unfortunately, she was too small to be cute even if she tried to act cute. Old Madame Dowager frowned in disdain and pointed at the huge creature in the living room. Are you sure this fellow won't scare Xiao Yi? Bailey Yun's mouth twitched. Xiao Yi has liked Lil P since she was young. Lil P also likes her very much. Grandma, do you remember when Xiao Yi shaved all of Lil P's fur when she was 3 years old? Lil P did not even make a sound. If it were anyone else, Lil P would have bitten off an arm before they could even pluck a single hair from Lil P's body. Old Madame Dowager thought about it. There was indeed such a thing. At that time, the big guy had a bald butt and was depressed for a long time. She hid at home and avoided people. Butler, clean Lil P and send her to young master's room. Bailey Yun was speechless. He had just cleaned Lil P up before leaving the house. She smelled good all over, okay? Lil P, woo-woo T to the power of T. She despised him. Lil P also had dignity. When the servant was bathing her, she fiercely splashed the servant with water. Bailey Yun took Lil P upstairs. Xiao Yi was still sitting by the window, quietly reading a book. Bailey Yun called his name, but he did not respond. Lil P barked at him twice, but he ignored her. Bailey Yun felt sad. When he first found out that Xiao Yi was autistic, he thought it was a prank by Xiao Yi. However, a week had passed, and she still did not get better. Bailey Yun started to worry. He specially brought his beloved dog over to accompany Xiao Yi. Compared to the silent Xiao Yi now, he missed the little devilish Xiao Yi very much. Bailey Yun bent down and wanted to rub Lil P's head. However, he was worried that it would agitate Lil P, so he could only give up and sit beside him. He stretched out his long arm and hugged Lil P's furry head. He chuckled softly and said, "Xiao Yi, look who I brought over for you." There was no response. Lil P was disliked before, and now he was being ignored again. She was unhappy. She rubbed her head against Xiao Yi's head and licked his face with her long tongue, leaving saliva all over his face. Her furry paws were not idle either. From time to time, she would bend her legs and jump around like a frog to attract his attention. Xiao Yi still did not respond. Lil P was so tired that she was panting. She lay on the ground and looked at Bailey Yun with tears in her eyes. Bailey Yun smiled and stroked her head. "Lil P, you're not working hard enough. Look, Xiao Yi is still ignoring you. Woo-woo, don't hurt a dog like this." Add. Hongcha 866. Chapter 132. Lil P rolled around on the floor with tears streaming down his face. Although his body was huge, he was extremely nimble. He was very careful not to bump into Xiao Yi. Otherwise, with his size, it was very likely that Xiao Yi would have been sent flying. Bang! He knocked over a chair and knocked over a pile of books. Lil P rolled around agitatedly among the books all over the floor, his fur flying everywhere. In the past, Xiao Yi loved to make him roll around on the floor. Bailey Yun carefully observed Xiao Yi's reaction. His eyes seemed to move a little. Bailey Yun hurriedly gestured to Lil P. Lil P rolled in front of Xiao Yi and rubbed his face with tears brimming in his eyes, trying to please him. Xiao Yi's eyes moved again. He slowly reached out his small hand and gently stroked Lil P's furry face. "Ow, ow," Lil P howled excitedly. He sang loudly and happily rubbed against the back of his hand. Bailey Yun was as excited as Lil P. He hugged Lil P's head and kissed him fiercely. His eyes were shining with joy. "Lil P, good job. We'll leave Xiao Yi to you. You have to be responsible for curing him." The butler, who was guarding the door, ran away in tears. "Old madam, young master's condition has improved again." On the way home, Xia Dong had already made a big decision. She was going to attend an autistic rehabilitation therapy class to learn related knowledge and help Xiao Yi recover as soon as possible. Now that she had resigned, she had a lot of time to do what she wanted to do. When Mika Keto got home, she told him her thoughts. He was silent for a while and expressed his support for her decision. After coaxing the children to sleep, Mika Keto still hadn't left. Xia Dong hesitated for a moment and said, Brother Shin, I met Bailey Yun today. He said that he had looked for me before and even called me, but I didn't know even once. She didn't say anything else, but her eyes were full of questions. Mika Kito's expression was calm. I was the one who got someone to stop him. I was also the one who blacklisted his number on your phone. Why? Xia Dong did not understand. Bailey Yun was not a bad person. There was no need to guard against him. Because I'm worried that he'll kidnap you. He's a famous playboy. He didn't look like he was joking. Xia Dong's face darkened. Brother Shin, I'm already an adult. I have the ability to distinguish and reason. What you're worried about will never happen. She began to wonder if the sudden disappearance of her admirers back in Japan was also because of him. He stroked her head and smiled. Silly girl, you can also think of it as me being jealous, Brother Shin. Xia Dong felt helpless. Don't do such childish things anymore, okay? He laughed. Okay, but you have to promise me that you won't go out alone with Bailey Yun. She was speechless. Bailey Yun is a good person. He won't do anything to me. The smile on his face widened. You can still think of it as me being jealous. Xia Dong wanted to scratch the wall. When did Brother Shin become so unreasonable? Without thinking, she blurted out, then why aren't you guarding against Bailey Han? Mika Kito's eyes narrowed. Bailey Han, and she even had a child. How could he not know that Bailey Han was the most threatening one? However, when she was kidnapped, he needed Bailey Han's help. There was no way he could exclude Bailey Han from the two of them. As for the others, they weren't so lucky. He was even considering if he should blacklist Xiao Tianqing as well. What a terrifying possessiveness. He smiled faintly and said insincerely, because I know that you don't want to have anything to do with Bailey Han, so he's not worth being afraid of. Alright, he hit the nail on the head. Xia Dong and Gigai shut their mouths. After sending Mika Kito off, it was already past 10 o'clock. Xia Dong went to the children's room to take a look. The two little guys were sleeping soundly. She smiled and gently closed the door. When she returned to her room, she dialed Bailey Yun's number. Fox, it's me, Xia Dong. Bailey Yun was drinking at the bar when a beauty came over to chat him up. He pushed her away and picked up the phone. Hearing her hesitant voice, he could imagine her hesitant look at the moment. He narrowed his eyes slightly. Do you want to ask about Xiao Yi's condition? Xia Dong grunted and kicked the ground with the tip of her foot. You brought the dog over today to keep Xiao Yi company, right? How is his condition now? His heart was filled with resentment. If it wasn't for Xiao Yi, she wouldn't have taken the initiative to contact him. Although he was unhappy, he still told her about Xiao Yi's condition in detail, including how he began to sense the outside world and took the initiative to touch Lil P. Xia Dong was overjoyed. She said nervously, Fox, I want to see Xiao Yi. Do you have any way to help me? Bailey Yun's tone softened a little. You know that my grandma treats Xiao Yi like a treasure and protects him tightly. It's impossible for you to get close to him. She smiled awkwardly. I know. Just pretend that I didn't ask. Bailey Yun's lips moved. He wanted to say something but didn't. Xia Dong said softly, Fox, I didn't contact you for a long time because something happened to me. I didn't mean to ignore you. Don't be angry, okay? Idiot. Bailey Yun scolded softly. He wasn't angry because of this. He was angry because he didn't hear from her and had worried him for so long. They finally met, but she was still holding her and Mika Kito's son. She tried to please him in a small voice. Go ahead and scold me. Remember to forgive me after you're done. Bailey Yun was angry and amused at the same time. When he imagined her carefully trying to please him, his heart softened. He coughed and pretended to be fierce as he shouted at her, "What's going on with you and Mikakito? Didn't you say that you didn't want to get married? Why do you want to marry him? Or do you just not want to marry me?" He shouted a lot. Xia Dong rubbed her ears in distress. "Okay, I'll be honest. Actually, this is a misunderstanding. Brother Shin's proposal was just an act. So, you're not engaged." Bailey Yun was ecstatic. He stood up quickly, scaring the beauty who was about to approach him. "Yes, I'm only telling you. Don't tell anyone else." Xia Dong dug her ears. "Why?" Bailey Yun was very dissatisfied. Did she want to make the act with Mikakito real? Xia Dong wanted to poke his head with her finger. "Are you stupid? If your family finds out that I don't have a fiancé, they'll definitely think that I'm trying to seduce your brother. My engagement status is my protection." Bai Lian narrowed his eyes and impatiently pushed away the beauty who was trying to strike up a conversation with him. "Alright, this reason is still reasonable. But I'm warning you, you're not allowed to turn the act into reality with Beitang Shin. Even if they were to turn the act into reality, it would be with him." "Okay." She wouldn't make the act real with anyone. Hearing his exasperated voice, she felt very warm. Finally, she didn't lose him as a friend. He was silent for a moment before he finally asked, "Xia Xia, Xiao Bao and Xiao Guai, are they really Mikakito's children as the newspaper said?" She gripped the phone. "Fox, is it important who the father of the children is?" "It's very important. I really want to know." He had been absent from her life for 5 years. He already felt that he couldn't catch up with her, let alone 2 children suddenly. She said softly, "I'm sorry, I can't tell you." He was silent for a long time, so long that Xia Dong mistakenly thought that he had hung up the phone. He suddenly said, "It's fine if you don't want to tell me. One last question. Do you love the father of the children?" She thought about it seriously and said, "No." Bailey Han was very good. She only felt sorry for him, not love. Bailey Yun heaved a sigh of relief. As long as she didn't love him, at least he still had a chance. The next day, Xia Dong sent Xiao Bao to the old Bailey mansion on time. She was blocked downstairs by the butler again. She sat in the living room waiting for her son. She was holding a magazine in her hand, but she couldn't read a single word. In front of the old Bailey mansion was a wide lawn and garden. Through the window, she saw servants weeding and catching insects in the garden. There was also a servant under the grape trellis, bathing the Tibetan mastiff named Daodu with a shower head. A whoop! The Tibetan mastiff's huge body suddenly jumped up. Its long fur fluttered, and the poor little maid was drenched in water. Xia Dong was speechless. She saw clearly that the little maid was bathing Daodu as if she was bathing her enemy. She was scrubbing its fur fiercely. It would be strange if it wasn't angry. It seemed that she had no experience in taking care of pets. Anyway, she had nothing to do, so she might as well help her. Xia Dong looked at the maid who was standing in the living room with her head lowered. She greeted her and walked out of the living room. The leafy grapes blocked the summer sun. Xia Dong walked to the flustered little maid and smiled kindly. "Don't use so much force. It will be unhappy." The little maid was about 17 or 18 years old. Her whole body was wet from the water droplets that Daodu threw out. She touched her hair embarrassedly. "The old lady asked me to wash it clean, so if you don't mind, I'll help it wash." Xia Dong rubbed Daodu's wet head. It didn't show a fierce expression like other Tibetan mastiffs. Instead, it naturally enjoyed her touch. How can I do that? You are a guest. Miss Xia, you'd better go back to the living room." It's okay. I have nothing to do anyway. By the way, what's your name? Xia Dong took the comb on the ground and gently combed Daodu's tangled hair. The little maid smiled shyly. My name is Yi Lu. Miss Xia, you can call me Xiao Lu. Xia Dong said as she combed Daodu's hair. Xiao Lu, before bathing the pet, you can use the comb to comb its hair. You can remove the fur balls and hair knots. You can also pick up the dirt on its body. After combing its hair, Xia Dong asked her to take a cotton swab and put it in Daodu's ears to prevent water from flowing into its ears and causing otitis media. You can also apply eye ointment to the eyes to prevent water and infection. Xia Dong used her fingers to gently apply the eye ointment. With every step, she explained the purpose of her actions once more. Yi Lu kept nodding, her face full of admiration. Miss Xia, you know so much. Have you had a pet before? Xia Dong poured a special pet bath gel onto her palm, rubbed it into foam, and then applied it on Lil P's body. She smiled and said, I used to have a schnauzer when I was in Japan, but after I came back to China, I stopped having one. In fact, not only had she bathed dogs, she had also bathed horses. Wow, that's amazing. The little girl was so innocent. She looked at Xia Dong with admiration. With one teaching and the other learning, the two quickly became familiar with each other. Xia Dong found out a lot about Xiao Yi. She knew that he was a child prodigy like Xiao Bao and was a master of Go at a young age. She knew that he was serious and was like an adult. The only thing that made him look like a child was that he liked to eat sweets. She also knew that he didn't like Su Yunxian and didn't want her to be his mommy. Xiao Lu smiled embarrassedly. Miss Xia, that's all I know. I just came here not long ago and I've been helping out in the kitchen. Xia Dong smiled. I know, I'm just curious. Don't worry, I won't tell anyone about this. Okay. Xiao Lu smiled and nodded. Xia Dong patted the clean Daodu. Daodu, get out of the bathtub and shake the water off your body. Daodu seemed to understand her words and stepped out of the bathtub gracefully. Xia Dong quickly pulled Xiao Lu back to prevent them from being affected by the water that Daodu threw out. In the end, Daodu seemed to be doing it on purpose. It ran to their side and shook the water off. Xia Dong quickly dodged and stepped on the steps. Xiao Lu was also dodging and bumped into her from the front. She lost her balance and fell backwards. Miss Xia, Xiao Lu hurriedly pulled her. But her hand was still a little short. Seeing that she was about to fall, Xia Dong was already prepared to use her hands to support her abdomen. But the expected fall did not happen. After a series of rapid footsteps, she was supported by a pair of strong arms around her waist. Although it was only 2 steps, suddenly slipping and falling still made her heart beat faster. Xia Dong rested for 2 seconds in the arms of the person who came and quickly stood up straight. Thank you. She turned to thank him and saw Bailey Han's dark and handsome face. He looked at her coldly. His cold lips were pursed tightly, as if he was angry. She was stunned and at a loss. Thank you, can you let go of me first? His hands were still on her waist. As she turned around, their posture was extremely ambiguous. His deep eyes were filled with coldness. Aren't you pregnant? Why are you so careless? I'm sorry, she instinctively apologized, but quickly realized that something was wrong. He had saved her in a critical moment. It was normal for her to thank him. Why did she have to apologize to him? Young master, it's all my fault. I accidentally bumped into Miss Xia. Please don't blame Miss Xia. Xiao Lu apologized in a panic. Bailey Han did not even look at her. He stared at Xia Dong without blinking. Have you always made Mika Keto worry like this? Ad Shinwu 799 Chapter 133. Ah. She was already an adult. Why did she feel so ashamed after being mocked by him? Was she really too worrisome? She lowered her head and refused to look at him. Please let go of me before you teach me a lesson, Bailey Han snorted coldly. He wanted to strangle this woman who made his heart beat faster. However, he didn't let go. Instead, he forcefully held her waist and brought her to the flat ground before slowly retracting his hand. Xia Dong slowly exhaled. She touched the tip of her nose and smiled. Why are you back so early today? As a workaholic, shouldn't he work until 7 or 8 o'clock before coming home? It was only 4 o'clock now. Why was he here? Bailey Han was in a bad mood. Even his tone wasn't good. This is my home. Do I need to report to you when I come back? No need, no need. Young master, you can do whatever you want. Xia Dong wiped her sweat. She must be crazy to ask him such an idiotic question. He was a big boss and could skip work at any time. What are you waiting for? Why aren't you leaving? Bailey Han took 2 steps and found that Xia Dong wasn't following him. He frowned impatiently. Xia Dong scratched her head. Where are we going? He snorted. Don't you want to see Xiao Yi? Oh, yes. You agree to let me see him. A look of surprise quickly appeared in her eyes. He grunted. Although his face was still sour, his mood was much better. Stupid woman, why did she think he came back early? He knew that Grandma wouldn't allow her to visit Xiao Yi, so he came back early to take her to see their son. He kept comforting himself that he wasn't helping her. He just wanted to know why she wanted to see Xiao Yi. They walked one after the other to the old mansion. They didn't know that a pair of clear eyes had already seen this scene. Bailey Yi stood on the balcony like a statue. From this angle, he could see everything that was happening under the grape trellis. Hey, you annoying fellow, what are you doing on the balcony? Come and look at my puzzle. Xiao Bao was yelling angrily in the room. He was kind enough to bring the jigsaw puzzle along to play with him, but this annoying fellow ignored him. Bailey Yi's small fingers gripped the iron railing tightly. If someone was by his side, they would definitely see the anger in his eyes. Hey, I'm calling you. Xia Xiaobao swayed his little butt as he ran over. He nudged Zhang Xian's arm and said proudly, most people would take 3 days to complete that puzzle, but I only took half an hour. I'm amazing, right? As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Bao's body suddenly rushed out and fell to the ground with a bang. He glared at Bailey Yi angrily. Bailey Yi, how dare you push me? Why did you push me? Xiao Bao was furious. He was trying to make Zhang Xian happy, but Zhang Xian pushed him to the ground without any explanation. He really didn't know what was good for him. Xiao Bao got up from the ground angrily. He rolled up his sleeves and rushed up to Bailey Yi with puffed-up cheeks. He pushed Bailey Yi's small chest and shouted angrily, "Tell me, why did you push me?" Bailey Yi looked at him expressionlessly. His gaze was so cold that it didn't seem like a child's. Xiao Bao was stunned for a moment, but he quickly reacted. He grabbed Zhang Xian's collar, bared his little white teeth, and lowered his voice to avoid the butler waiting outside the door. Bailey Yi, I'm telling you, I don't care if you're pretending or not. Don't throw a tantrum with me. If it wasn't for my mommy, I wouldn't have bothered with you. Xiao Bao knew that his eyes weren't playing tricks on him. When Zhang Xian mentioned his mommy, he clearly saw Bailey Yi's gaze change. It became sharp and angry. The next second, Bailey Yi's hand also grabbed Xiao Bao's collar. The two brats wrestled with each other. Just as they were fighting fiercely, an angry voice came from the door. What are you doing? Stop it right now. It was Bailey Han's voice. Bailey Yi instinctively let go of his hand, but Xiao Bao was still holding on to his clothes. Xia Dong scolded, "Xiao Bao, let go of him." Xiao Bao then let go of Gigai. The two children's clothes were messy, and they stood in the middle of the room with their faces covered in dirt. The two adults looked at them sternly. Bailey Han stared at his expressionless son. He was angry and helpless. Xia Dong glared at Xiao Bao, exasperated. "Xiao Bao, what's going on? I asked you to play with Xiao Yi, but you started fighting with him." Xiao Bao puffed up his cheeks angrily and glared fiercely at Xiao Yi. "Who told him to push me first? I was just defending myself." Xia Dong choked at his words and said angrily, "Defending yourself? That was revenge. Xiao Yi pushed you, so you had to push him back. Xiao Bao, have you forgotten what mommy told you?" He raised his chin indignantly. "I didn't forget. Mom, who's your son? Why are you siding with someone else's child?" Xia Dong's body froze, and the blood drained from her face. Her face turned pale, and she clenched her fists involuntarily. Bailey Han didn't know why Xiao Bao's words made Xia Dong react so strongly. A complicated look flashed across his eyes, and he said in a low voice, "Xiao Bao, don't be so rude to your mommy. Uncle, how I talk to my mommy is our family matter. Don't be a hypocrite and poke your nose into other people's business." Xiao Bao saw his mother's pale face and immediately regretted it. However, he was too prideful to admit his mistake in front of outsiders, so he turned his anger to Bailey Han. "Xiao Bao." Xia Dong called her son's name sternly. "Don't be rude to Uncle Bailey. Apologize now." "No, I didn't do anything wrong." There was no way he would apologize to his irresponsible father who abandoned him. Xiao Bao kicked the jigsaw angrily, grabbed the small backpack on the ground, and ran out like a wisp of smoke. Xia Dong looked at Bailey Han apologetically. "Mr. Bailey, I'm sorry. Xiao Bao's temper is too stubborn." She looked at Xiao Yi reluctantly. "I'll leave first." "Hurry and see if the young master is hurt anywhere." Bailey Han looked at Xia Dong's back as she chased after Xiao Bao. He raised his eyebrows and thought about her attitude. In front of him, her biological father, she didn't hide her concern for Xiao Yi. Was her motherly love too flowing? Xiao Yi was indifferent to all of this. He quietly tidied up the flower pots that had been kicked over during the fight. Bailey Han walked to his side and squatted down so that he was at eye level with him. He tried his best to soften his voice. "Xiao Yi, let Daddy see if you're hurt." He carefully checked his head and body. After confirming that he wasn't hurt, Bailey Han stroked his hair and said, "Xiao Yi, it's wrong to fight with others. Don't do it again, okay?" Bailey Yi looked down and didn't say anything. Bailey Han moved his lips helplessly. He held his son's thin shoulders and made him look at him. "Xiao Yi, Chief Editor Xia and Xiao Bao are here to help you. Don't be hostile to them." Xiao Yi still didn't respond. Even his eyes were dull. Bailey Han didn't dare to force him. He was worried that it would agitate him, so he took the puzzle pieces that Xiao Bao brought over. He pulled his son to sit on the thick carpet and chuckled. "It's been a long time since I played with puzzles. Xiao Yi, play with Daddy, okay?" He took apart the castles that he had pieced together and messed them up. Then he held his son's little hand and led him to find every piece of the puzzle. Gradually, when Bailey Han let go of his hand, Xiao Yi took the initiative to help him find the puzzle pieces. He was ecstatic and praised him at appropriate times. Slowly, he let Xiao Yi solve the puzzle by himself. This time, he didn't get the expected result. The disappointment only lasted for a moment and was replaced by joy. Compared to when he had just returned from the hospital, Xiao Yi had improved a lot. Bailey Han believed that Xiao Yi would recover soon. In the BMW, Xia Dong drove seriously. She didn't even look at Xiao Bao, who was sitting in the front passenger seat. Xiao Bao carefully moved his face closer and said pitifully, "Mommy, don't be angry anymore." As soon as they got in the car, Xiao Bao tried to please Xia Dong, but she didn't look at him. Xia Dong snorted. "You still know that I'm your mommy?" "Of course I know." Finally, his mother paid attention to him. He quickly raised his chubby little hand. "Mommy, I know I was wrong. I won't do it again." Xia Dong raised her eyebrows. "Tell me, what did you do wrong?" He looked bitter. "I shouldn't have fought with my classmates. In the future, when my classmates hit me, I should be magnanimous and bear with it. My biggest mistake was talking back to you, Mommy. I was rude to my elders." Xia Dong's mouth twitched. Was he admitting his mistake, or was he trying to make her angry? "Mommy," Xia Dong's soft voice dragged on. His large eyes kept blinking and there was a fawning smile on his pink cheeks. Xia Dong's heart softened. She reached out and patted his head. She sighed. "Xiao Bao, Mommy knows that you're unhappy that you have to play with Xiao Yi. But Mommy really hopes that you can become friends. Even if you can't become friends, you should at least be friendlier to him, okay?" Her eyes were full of hope. He was unconvinced, but he couldn't bear to disappoint her. He nodded reluctantly and asked sourly, "Mommy, why are you so nice to him? He was Bailey Han's child with someone else." She smiled. "Xiao Bao, actually, Xiao Yi is very pitiful. He didn't have a mommy, friends, or siblings since he was young. Would you be willing to swap places with him?" He shook his head like a rattledrum. "No way." Although he didn't have Daddy's love, he had his mother and Uncle Shin who doted on him. He also had a super cute sister. Oh right, there was also his great-aunt and Auntie Yi. There were so many people who loved him. He didn't want to become Bailey Yi. "So, are you willing to treat him better?" Xia Dong guided him patiently. He nodded. His beautiful eyes were as clear as spring water. She ruffled his hair. "Good boy. Awesome novel." Songshu 566. Chapter 134. The director of Glamour magazine found out from someone that Xia Dong did not go abroad, so he called her and asked her to return to her position as the chief editor. Xia Dong politely declined. She had to take care of Xiao Guai and attend the autistic therapist training. She did not have the energy to devote to her work. She walked the streets and searched for many delicacies, especially desserts. She specially bought different types of desserts for Xiao Bao to bring and share with Xiao Yi. As usual, the housekeeper led Xiao Bao upstairs while Xia Dong sat in the living room. The housekeeper helped Xiao Bao carry an exquisite food container and a bag of toys upstairs. After sending him to his room, the housekeeper closed the door and waited outside. When Xiao Bao entered, Xiao Yi was playing a jigsaw puzzle alone. Xiao Bao chuckled and ran to his side. "I'm not playing jigsaw puzzles today. I brought something new for you." He did not care if Xiao Yi ignored him and dragged the bag of toys over. In the Mickey Mouse patterned pocket, there was a small hemp dartboard. He took the dartboard out of the pocket and said, "Let me tell you, I'm a dartboard expert. Looking at you, you must have never played before. But don't worry, I'll teach you." Xiao Bao patted his chest proudly and ran around the room like a gust of wind. He quickly found a place to set the dartboard and stood on a stool. After setting the dartboard, he casually took out a dart and glanced at Xiao Yi, who was focused on the jigsaw puzzle. "Hey, watch carefully. I'm going to shoot the dartboard." After shouting for a long time, Xiao Yi still ignored him. Wah, this annoying guy is not cooperating at all. Xiao Bao glared at him angrily and vented his anger on the dartboard. He mustered all his strength and threw the dart in his hand. Swoosh! It hit the bullseye. Xiao Yi looked up at lightning speed and then quickly looked down. Xiao Bao clapped happily. He had not practiced for a long time, but his skills had not deteriorated. He turned around proudly and wanted to show off. Unfortunately, the other party did not even look at him. He shot a few darts and hit the bullseye. Unfortunately, no one appreciated it. Little Treasure scooted over to Little Wingsy's side and sat down. He supported his forehead with one hand and sighed sadly. Why did he have to accompany this taciturn person during the summer vacation? He used his elbow to poke Xiao Yi, who was working hard. Bailey Yi, I'm curious. Are you pretending? If he was pretending, how could he endure it for so long? If he was in Xiao Bao's shoes, he would not be able to endure it. Bailey Yi, Little Treasure changed his position and lay on the ground looking at him. He propped up his chin with both hands and said with a gossipy expression, "Tell me quickly. Is it an act? By the way, your daddy cancelled the wedding. Is that annoying woman very sad and angry?" Unfortunately, I did not get to see her reaction. His pink lips chattered non-stop. Bailey Yi tightened his grip on the platter as if he was trying to restrain himself. Although it was a subtle movement, Xiao Bao still noticed it. Little Treasure suddenly grabbed his finger and laughed mischievously. Do you think I'm long-winded and irritating? Let me tell you, irritating is the right thing to do. As long as you ignore me, I'll kiss you endlessly and annoy you to death. Bailey Yi tried to break free from Xiao Bao's grip but failed. Xiao Bao smiled. He grabbed a dart with his other hand and stuffed it into Xiao Bao's hand. Here. As long as you can hit the dart plate here, I'll shut up and never bother you again. Xiao Bao was a handsome guy who was loved by everyone. He did not want to nag endlessly like a naggy old woman. He had put in so much effort to implement his mother's treatment plan. Bailey Yi's eyes moved as if he was hesitating. Xiao Bao waited quietly. He was not in a hurry. After nearly a minute, Bailey Yi reached out and took the dart. He stood up from the ground and stood up straight. He raised his right arm and threw the dart. Swoosh! The dart deviated from its original trajectory and shot out of the dart plate. Ha 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 ha! Xiao Bao hugged his stomach and rolled around on the ground happily. So there were things that this annoying guy was not good at. Bailey Yi's face darkened. He pursed his lips and clenched his small fists. He looked like he wanted to pounce on the guy who laughed at him and beat him up. Xiao Bao rubbed his stomach that was hurting from laughing too much, then rubbed his cheeks that were stiff from laughing too much. Alright, don't look so glum. I'll teach you. Watch carefully, this is how it should be. He casually picked up a dart and did a standard demonstration. Bailey Yi turned his head away awkwardly and ignored him. Don't be so stingy. It's not like you'll lose anything if you get laughed at. Xiao Bao sighed and frowned. Kids are so troublesome. Bailey Yi's cheek twitched uncontrollably as the side of his face was facing him. In the end, Xiao Bao still could not coax Bailey Yi to learn darts with him. Xiao Bao scratched his head in frustration. He suddenly remembered something and his eyes lit up. He quickly ran to the table and took the food box from it. As soon as he opened the lid of the food box, the aroma of food wafted out. Layer by layer. Like peeling bamboo shoots, Xiao Bao took out the small boxes one by one and placed them on the floor. The fragrant pastries immediately attracted Bailey Yi's attention. Xiao Bao quickly handed him a pair of sanitary chopsticks. Don't be shy. Hurry up and eat. Bailey Yi did not take the chopsticks. Instead, he averted his gaze. Xiao Bao's bright black eyes rolled around. Two little dimples appeared on his rosy cheeks. He picked up a pastry and took a bite happily. Wow, it's so delicious. It's fragrant and crispy. It's sweet and not greasy. It's so delicious. Bailey swallowed his saliva quietly. Suddenly, his vision blurred. Xiao Bao was already in front of him. He picked up a pastry with his chopsticks and fed it to him. Hurry up and eat. It won't taste good when it's cold. Let me tell you, other than Xiao Guai, no one else has ever received such high treatment before. If you weren't my friend, I wouldn't have fed it to you. Friend? Bailey Yi was stunned. His mouth opened involuntarily. The pastry melted in his mouth. It had the fragrance of roses. It was sweet and soft. It was really delicious. He couldn't help but chew. Xiao Bao smiled brightly and handed him another piece of red date cake. Try this. It's delicious too. Bailey Yi did not refuse and reached out to take it. Xiao Bao beamed and said proudly, "It's delicious, isn't it? My mommy heard that you like sweets and specially went to many places to buy it." Before he could finish his sentence, Bailey Yi threw away the red date cake in his hand and ran to the trash can to spit out the food in his mouth. Finally, he angrily kicked the pastries on the ground and kicked them all over the floor. Are you crazy? My mommy spent a lot of effort to buy those. Xiao Bao ran over to stop him. However, he seemed to be even crazier. Not only did he kick the pastries, but he also screamed in agitation. Xiao Bao did not dare to go near him. The butler guarding the door heard the commotion and immediately pushed the door open. He said nervously, "Young master, don't be agitated. Take a deep breath." Xiao Bao stared blankly at Bailey Yi. Something flashed through his mind, but he couldn't grasp it. "Young Master Qi, you should come out first." The butler wiped the sweat from his forehead. Xiao Bao glanced at Bailey Yi and walked towards the door. After a few steps, he suddenly turned around. "Bailey Yi, do you hate my mommy?" He finally grasped that little bit of information. It seemed that every time he mentioned his mommy, Bailey Yi would have abnormal emotions. Bailey Yi's screams gradually stopped. Xiao Bao bit his lip and stared at him hatefully. "You really hate my mommy. Let me tell you, my mommy is different from that annoying woman. My mommy is really good to you. Young Master Qi, don't say any more. Let's go downstairs first." The butler was drenched in cold sweat. He was so worried that the young master would lose his temper again. Don't think of everyone as a bad person. My mommy doesn't want to marry your daddy." Xiao Bao huffed. He picked up his little backpack and ran downstairs. That bastard Bailey Yi. He must think that mom helped him to get close to Bailey Han. That's why he hates her. Bailey Yi looked at the food spilled everywhere without any expression on his face. Xia Dong held the hand of a fuming Xiao Bao as they walked out of Bailey's house. "Baby, why are you so unhappy?" Xiao Bao huffed. "It's all Bailey Yi's fault. He threw the food mom bought for you everywhere. He doesn't like you. He thinks you helped him to marry Bailey Han." Xia Dong tightened his grip on his hand. "Is this what little Wingsy said? He's willing to talk." "Of course not. I guessed it." It wasn't hard to guess his thoughts. No child would want someone else to be their daddy or mommy. Just like Xiao Bao himself, he didn't want another man to be his daddy. Of course, he didn't want Bailey Han to be his daddy either. So, in comparison, Uncle Shin was the most suitable. Xia Dong's mouth twitched. "I think you're overthinking it." The mother and son were walking to the parking lot when a high-class sports car suddenly drove over. Su Yunqian elegantly got out of the car. She smiled faintly. "Xia Dong, I didn't expect to see you here. Did Grandma allow you to enter Bailey's house? Xia Dong ignored the sarcasm in her words and said calmly, I'm sorry to disappoint you. Not only did I enter Bailey's house, but I also drank Bailey's tea. By the way, I'll continue to come here. Su Yunqian's exquisite smile froze. Is that so? Even so, I don't think Grandma will let you see Xiao Yi. Even a rabbit would bite when cornered, let alone Xia Dong, who was stubborn to begin with. The guilt she felt for stealing Xia Dong's child had long disappeared after Xia Dong's repeated provocations. She sneered and said, Miss Su, before you care about my affairs, why don't you care about your own affairs first? I heard that the reporters want to know why President Bailey cancelled the wedding. Beauty novel, Songshu 566. Chapter 135. Xia Dong's counterattack had undoubtedly poked at Su Yunqian's sore spot. Her beautiful eyes stared fixedly at Xia Dong, filled with hatred. If it weren't for Xia Dong's existence, she would have long become the mistress of the Bailey family. Damn it, it's all that B*TCH's fault. She gritted her teeth and squeezed out a smile. Even if Han and I call off the wedding, don't even think about marrying him. Based on what you did back then, you have no right to stand by his side. Xia Dong smiled faintly. Miss Su, I suggest you see a psychiatrist. Your paranoia is really getting worse. Su Yunqian's expression turned ugly. She took a step forward and seemed to want to say something. Xiao Bao shrank his neck in horror and hid behind Xia Dong. Mommy, paranoia is really scary. Let's stay away from this auntie. Xia Dong stroked her son's hair seriously. That's right. Paranoia is really scary. Baby, remember to stay 10 meters away from this auntie when you see her in the future. No, you should stay as far away from her as possible. Yes, yes. Mommy, I'll remember. The mother and son got into the car as if there was no one else around. Su Yunqian was left alone on the spot, gritting her teeth in hatred. Xia Dong was about to start the car when she saw her son take something out of his small bag. He rolled down the car window and aimed at Su Yunqian's car tires and shot it. As his actions were extremely fast and there was no sound during the shooting process, Su Yunqian, who had already turned and walked towards the old Bailey mansion, naturally didn't see it. However, Xia Dong saw it clearly. She raised her eyebrows. Baby, what are you doing? Xiao Bao waved the thing in her right hand and smiled like a little fox. My secret weapon, pear flower storm needles. Once I see blood, I'll destroy that damn auntie's tires. The corner of Xia Dong's mouth twitched. Brother Shen must have given him another inexplicable hidden weapon. She rubbed his head and said, well done, worthy of praise. However, this thing is very dangerous. You have to be careful when using it. Worried that he wouldn't know what to do, she thought for a moment and said, when you use it, you have to be clear about the situation. For example, if you have a conflict with a child, you can't use it against them. If you're facing a kidnapper or a bad guy, you have to use this weapon without hesitation. Do you understand? I know. Don't confuse me with a 3-year-old child. Xiao Bao rolled his eyes impatiently. He already said that he was a genius. How could a genius not understand these things? Hey, little old man, you're only 4 years old. Xia Dong flicked his forehead in annoyance. Alright, buckle up. Mommy is going to drive. Su Yunqian was very annoyed by Xia Dong and her son, but when she saw the housekeeper, she still smiled appropriately. Housekeeper, I'm here to see Grandma and Xiao Yi. Is Grandma in? The housekeeper said politely, Miss Su, old madam heard that you're coming and is waiting for you in the study. Okay, thank you. Su Yunqian went straight to the study on the 3rd floor. When she walked into the study, old madam was chatting with old master. The two elders were sitting on a rattan chair and chatting happily. The atmosphere was harmonious. Grandma, Grandpa. Su Yunqian greeted them politely. Yunqian, you're here. Come and sit here. Old madam pointed to the seat beside her and pressed the bell. Soon, a servant came in and served them tea. After chatting for a while, old madam suddenly said, Yunqian, did something happen between you and Ahan? I think he's been a little strange recently. Old madam's words were too tactful. Bailey Han was not only strange, but he completely ignored Su Yunqian as if she was a stranger. Su Yunqian forced a smile, and her eyes revealed a touch of sadness. I think Han is too tired. And something like this happened to Xiao Yi. Sigh, Ahan's temper has been like this since he was young. He likes to hide everything in his heart. Old madam took her hand and patted it gently. Yunqian, you have to understand him. Don't worry. When Xiao Yi recovers, I'll immediately hold your wedding. It'll definitely be a grand affair. Su Yunqian's eyes reddened with gratitude. Grandma, thank you, old madam rebuked, let's not be so formal. Tell your parents what I said just now so that they can feel at ease. I know, Grandma. Before I came, my mommy told me to visit you more often. If you need anything, just let me know. Don't be shy, old madam was very emotional. Your parents are reasonable. Help me thank them. The two chatted for a while. Su Yunqian proposed to visit Xiao Yi. Old madam was very comforted. She went downstairs with her and walked into Bailey Yi's room. The room had been cleaned and tidied up. Bailey Yi leaned against the cushion, holding a small laptop and surfing the internet. Baby, look. Auntie Yunqian is here to see you. Although he did not respond every time she spoke to him, the old lady did not give up. Xiao Yi, what are you busy with? Su Yunqian bent down and stroked Bailey Yi's hair intimately. Ah. Xiao Yi. Su Yunqian anxiously walked forward, wanting to comfort her. Old madam suddenly said sternly, Yunqian, don't go over there. Grandma. Su Yunqian looked aggrieved. The old madam paused and softened her tone. If we go over now, it'll only make him lose control of his emotions. The best thing to do now is to ignore him and let him calm down. This was the method that Lin Yi, the psychotherapist, had taught her. I see. I understand. Su Yunqian bit her lips and seemed to have made a very important decision. Grandma, I don't know why, but Xiao Yi gets agitated every time he sees me. In order not to agitate him, it's better for me to visit him less in the future. Old madam also thought about this problem, but she was too embarrassed to bring it up. She did not expect Yunqian to bring it up herself. She immediately let out a sigh of relief. That's good too. Yunqian, it's been hard on you. Su Yunqian smiled. Of course not. We are all doing this for Xiao Yi's good. Grandma, I'll leave first. I still have something to do. I'll come to see you in 2 days. After saying goodbye to old madam, Su Yunqian walked out of the old house. She was already depressed to begin with. Why was Bailey Yi so agitated every time he saw her? Was he pretending to be sick? Or was he really sick, but subconsciously remembered what she had done to him? Su Yunqian drove for more than 10 meters and realized that something was wrong. She got out of the car to check and found 2 very thin needles stuck in her tires. She was so angry that she stomped her 10-centimeter high heels. Fortunately, she did not drive too far. When she returned to the old house, she asked the servant to change her tires. After she started the car again, she thought for a while and felt that it was Xia Dong's doing. After all, that was Bailey's territory. Outsiders could not enter. The servant knew her and it was impossible for them to puncture her tires. Only Xia Dong had the motive to do this. Xia Dong, how dare you do such a childish thing? If Su Yunqian was not driving, she would have stomped on the ground to vent her anger. No, she could not be in a passive position anymore. She had to find a way to turn the situation around. It had been a month and a half since Su Xingqian was injured. Today was the day she removed the gauze on her face. Su Murong and Xia Xinqing were both in the hospital with her. The doctor carefully removed the gauze from her face. Su Murong saw her daughter's face clearly and her face turned pale. She almost fainted. Xia Xinqing was not any better. He trembled as he held his wife's arm. After removing the gauze, Su Xingqian could not wait to see her injury. "Give me a mirror, quickly give me a mirror." Her vocal cords had almost recovered, but her voice was still a little hoarse. Su Murong snatched the mirror. "Xingqian, promise mommy first. Don't get agitated." "Okay, mommy, I promise you." "Quickly give me the mirror." After Su Xingqian took the mirror, she became timid. She had already guessed the result from her parents' worried and heartbroken eyes. But in her heart, she still had a faint hope that a miracle would happen. She closed her eyes and took 2 deep breaths. She slowly opened her eyes. With just one look, she screamed in horror and threw away the mirror in her hand. She shrank into the corner of the bed in fear. "That's not me, that's not me. Mommy, Daddy, quickly tell me that the scary person in the mirror is not me. It's not me." Su Xingqian hugged her head and cried in the wind. No, the face she saw was not hers. It definitely was not her. Her skin was clearly smooth and delicate, but the face in the mirror was dry like a withered tree bark. That face was bald, without eyebrows. It was covered with red and swollen scars and ravines. It was like a malicious spirit that crawled out from hell. That was not her, not her. "Xingqian, don't get agitated. Listen to me. The doctor said that your face can be fixed by plastic surgery. It can be cured." Su Murong endured the sadness in her heart and hugged her wailing daughter. She kept comforting her. "Xingqian, be good. Don't cry. Your tears will stain the wounds. Be careful of infection. You're lying to me, you're lying to me. It can't be cured at all." Su Xingqian struggled crazily and cried. "My eyebrows, my nose, and my cheeks, it can't be cured." Some of the wounds on her face were so deep that the bones could be seen. How could it be cured? Even plastic surgery could not restore her original appearance. "It will be cured, it will be cured. Believe in Mommy. Mommy will invite the world's best plastic surgeon. They will definitely restore you to your original appearance." Su Murong could barely suppress Su Xingqian. Xia Xinqing quickly went forward to help her hold Su Xingqian's arm. "Xingqian, listen to Mommy. Don't get agitated. Be careful of the wounds." Powerful novel, Hongcha 866. Chapter 136. Su Murong could barely hold Su Xingqian down. Xia Xinqing hurriedly stepped forward and grabbed Su Xingqian's arm. "Xingqian, listen to Mommy. Don't be agitated. Be careful of your wounds, let go of me." Su Xingqian was completely defeated by that nightmarish face. She lost all reason and kept crying. "I want my face, I want my face. Xia Dong, Su Yunqian, you 2 bitches, give me back my face." Su Yunqian just happened to walk in at this time. Su Murong was the first to see her. She smiled apologetically. "Yunqian, you're here." Xingqian was agitated and her mind is a little muddled. Don't take it to heart. Su Yunqian put down the fruit basket in her hand. Aunt, I know. I won't be angry. Su Yunqian, I don't want your fake kindness. Get out now. Su Xingchen's hands were held by Xia Jinqing and couldn't move. He kicked at Su Yunqian with his legs. Unfortunately, the distance was too far and he couldn't kick her. Xingchen, that's enough. Su Murong couldn't take it anymore and scolded Su Xingchen harshly. Look at yourself. Yunqian is magnanimous and didn't take it to heart that you hurt her. Not only do you not feel guilty at all, you even speak ill of her. Is this what I've been teaching you? Su Xingchen let out a wah sound as he began to cry. Su Yunqian comforted her gently. Aunt, don't be angry. I don't think Xingchen did it on purpose. She's just in a bad mood. Su Murong looked guilty. Xingchen was the one in the wrong and you're comforting me. Yunqian, you're such a sensible girl. Su Yunqian smiled. Aunt, uncle, Xingchen doesn't want to see me. I'll leave first. I'll come see her when she's in a better mood. Yunqian, thank you for coming to visit Xingchen. Be careful on the way. Xia Jinqing held onto Su Murong's hand and couldn't let go. Su Murong personally walked her to the door. After Su Yunqian left, Su Xingchen's emotions were still agitated. She kept crying and throwing tantrums. The couple tried to console her for a long time but to no avail. In the end, they could only call for the doctor to inject her with a sedative. After the injection, she fell into a deep sleep. Su Murong sat by the bed, exhausted. Looking at her miserable face, her eyes couldn't help but redden. Xia Jinqing put his arm around her shoulder. Wife, don't be sad. Let's think of a way to cure our daughter's face. Su Murong pushed his arm away. Xia Jinqing, how can you be so heartless? The one lying on the bed right now is our only daughter. Why aren't you sad at all? Xia Jinqing said helplessly, of course I'm sad, but it's useless to be sad. It's better to think of a way to cure Xingchen's face as soon as possible. Su Murong looked at him coldly and said sarcastically, I think you're just trying to distract me because you're afraid that I'll blame you and your ex-wife's daughter. Xia Jinqing frowned. This wasn't Xia Dong's fault in the first place. If Xingchen hadn't tried to harm Yunqian and Xia with acid, she wouldn't have ended up in this state. So you're saying that Xingchen asked for it and reaped what she sowed? Su Murong raised her eyebrows and glared at Xia Jinqing. In your eyes, is Xia Dong the only daughter you have? Let me tell you, Xia Jinqing, Xingchen ended up in this state because of Xia Dong. She wouldn't let this go so easily. Xia Jinqing saw a flash of viciousness in her eyes and hurriedly explained, Honey, what are you talking about? Ever since we got married, I only have you and Xingchen in my heart. I'm also very sad that Xingchen got hurt. Let's not talk about other things for now. Saving our daughter is more important. He knew that the more he explained, the more Su Murong would hate Xia. Su Murong slowly let out a sigh of relief and calmed down a lot. Alright, I'll believe you for now. Xia Jinqing, don't do anything behind my back. Otherwise, if I find out, I won't let you off. Su Xingchen's face had third-degree burns. Because the acid had flowed down from her forehead to the bridge of her forehead, nose, and chin had the deepest injuries. Even the bridge of her nose was faintly visible and her lips were deformed. Even plastic surgery could only make her face look more normal. Su Murong knew this very well. However, like all mothers, she loved her daughter deeply and hoped for a miracle to happen. She used her connections to ask around for the best plastic surgery hospitals and doctors. Unknowingly, Su Murong woke up on the hospital bed. When she saw her mother by her bedside, she was disheartened and tears welled up in her eyes. Su Murong hurriedly used a cotton swab to carefully dry her tears and comforted her gently. Xingqian, don't cry. Otherwise, your tears will stain the wound and it'll be easy to get infected. Su Xingqian's voice was hoarse and her eyes were filled with grief. Mommy, I know that even with plastic surgery, my face won't recover. If I have to face this face, I'd rather die. Su Murong gritted her teeth and scolded, Su Xingqian, you're not my daughter. I, Su Murong, will never have a daughter as weak as you. Since you're not even afraid of death, why are you afraid of living? Tears welled up in Su Xingqian's eyes again. What's there to be afraid of in death? Living means facing so many strange gazes and going to jail. It's much more painful than death. Su Murong expected better from Su Xingqian. Have you forgotten how I taught you? If others respect me, I'll respect them 10 times. If others hurt me, I'll hurt them 10 times. Right now, you're suffering here, but the person who hurt you is free and unfettered. Are you willing to accept this? Her words indeed stirred up Su Xingqian's motivation to live. Her lifeless eyes slowly regained their luster. Her terrifying face was even scarier because of her hatred. She looked like a demon that had climbed up from hell. With a low and hoarse voice, she said, No, I'm not willing. Su Murong stroked her hair and her voice was terrifyingly calm. Since you're not willing, then live well. As long as you're alive, there's hope. Whatever you want, you can still fight for it. If you die, then there's really nothing left. Right, how could she let Su Yunqian and Xia Dong wish for Gigai to die? She had to live on resolutely. Only then would there be a day when she could beat them. Su Yunqian walked out of Su Xingqian's ward. She wasn't in a hurry to leave the hospital. Instead, she went to the door of the gynecology department. Sitting on a bench in the corridor, she quietly observed. Su Yunqian saw many pregnant women accompanied by their husbands. The husbands carefully supported their wives while the wives had sweet smiles on their faces. There were also a few girls who came alone sitting in the waiting area. Their young faces were filled with uneasiness. It was easy to guess their purpose for coming here. A young girl walked out of the gynecology department. Her face was pale as she sat beside Su Yunqian in a daze. She was still holding a checkup report in her hand. Su Yunqian looked up slightly. When she saw the word 7 weeks pregnant written on the report, the corner of her lips curled up imperceptibly. She said softly, Little girl, let's make a deal. The girl looked up in astonishment. Her clear eyes were filled with confusion. What deal? Su Yunqian smiled. You don't want the child in your stomach, right? I'll help you get rid of it. I promise that no one will know. The price you'll pay is just the checkup report in your hand. The girl was stunned for a while before she reacted. She muttered, What do you want the checkup report for? Su Yunqian said lightly, That's my problem. You just have to tell me, are you willing or not? The girl bit her lip. Are you sure you won't let anyone know? I'm sure. I don't have money, I'll pay for the surgery. I'll also give you 10,000 yuan for nutrition. I only have one condition. Su Yunqian stared into her eyes. You have to swear on your life that you won't reveal this matter. I promise I won't tell anyone. The girl raised her palm and swore seriously. In her eyes, it was this beautiful woman who had saved her. She had already regarded her as her benefactor. Su Yunqian smiled. Very good. Give me your phone number. I'll arrange the surgery for you as soon as possible. If you don't believe me, you can give me the checkup report after the surgery. Thank you. The girl told her phone number and thanked her solemnly. Xinghao Group. The president had been in a bad mood recently. It was a well-known fact among the employees of Xinghao Group. Even when they passed by the door of the president's office, they would deliberately walk lightly, afraid that they would accidentally disturb the black-faced god inside. After the meeting, Bailey Han strode back to his office. He looked at the clock. It was 4:00 in the afternoon. It was time for Xia Dong to take Xiao Bao to visit Xiao Yi again. He leaned back in his chair. He couldn't help but think of the day when he came back early and saw her bathing Daodu under the grape trellis. She gently rubbed Daodu's hair and chatted with the maid with a smile. Her eyes were burning with a long-lost passion. He couldn't help but stop and stand in the distance, watching her laugh. Suddenly, a melodious ringing of the phone interrupted his reverie. He saw the caller ID and felt a little complicated. He hesitated for a few seconds and pressed the answer button. Han, Su Yunqian's gentle voice came from the phone. We haven't had dinner together in a long time. Let's have dinner together tonight, okay? Bailey Han paused and said, I have to work overtime today. Her voice was still gentle. Then I'll cook something delicious and send it to you. No, I'll order takeout. Han, her voice sounded very aggrieved. I just want to have dinner with you. Is it making things difficult for you? He rubbed his eyebrows. Yunqian, before Xiao Yi recovers, I hope we can maintain the status quo. In the end, you still suspect me. You think I'm the one who hurt Xiao Yi. She sobbed softly. He frowned even more. I just want both of us to calm down. I won't make any guesses before the matter is investigated clearly. Attention, Songshu 566. Chapter 137. His frown deepened. I just want both of us to calm down. I won't make any guesses before I get to the bottom of the matter. She saw through his lies. You've already sentenced me, yet you refuse to see me. You don't take the initiative to contact me. You don't care about me. This is all because you've already determined that I'm the one who harmed little Wingzy. Han, don't you think this is too unfair to me? You've only heard one sentence from Xiao Yi, yet you've already determined that I'm guilty. Have you ever thought that there might be a misunderstanding? Bailey Han rationally felt that Su Yunqian was suspicious, but emotionally, he hoped that she was innocent. He was conflicted, so he chose to distance himself from her to deal with this matter calmly. No matter what she said, he coldly rejected her request. After ending the call, Su Yunqian angrily threw her coffee cup on the floor. After her anger subsided, she began to plan her next move. No matter what, she had to see Bailey Han. Ever since she decided to go to Italy, Xia Dong fired the nanny. Now, she was idle at home and did not hire a nanny. She cleaned the house herself and took care of the children. After breakfast in the morning, she cleaned the house and dragged the two lazy bums to the garden for a walk. After resting for a while, she taught Xiao Guai how to read and write. Then, she brought the two of them to her aunt's house and asked her to take care of them. She went out shopping for food and prepared afternoon tea and snacks for Xiao Bao and Xiao Yi's daily meeting at 4:00. After returning from Bailey's house and having dinner, she rushed to the autism rehabilitation class. Her schedule was very tight every day. In order to take care of the children, she almost gave up all entertainment and social activities. Even if Mika Keto wanted to see her, she could only see her after 9:00 in the evening. Mika Keto felt that she was working too hard and wanted to hire a nanny for her, but she refused. Her reason was that she did not have a job and would feel uncomfortable if she was idle. Today, Xia Dong had to go shopping again. Xiao Bao volunteered to go with her. Xiao Guai was naturally unwilling to be left behind. Mommy, I want to go too. I can help you pick out desserts for Brother Yi. Xia Dong pinched her delicate nose in amusement. What do you know how to pick? There are a lot of people on the streets, and it's very hot. It's not fun at all. Xiao Guai, don't go, okay? No, her daughter shook her arm and looked at her pitifully with watery eyes. Mommy, I haven't played outside in a long time. Let me go, but the weather is very hot now. Mommy is afraid that you will get sunburned. The sun in late July was very scorching. Mommy, wait for me. She ran into her room like a wisp of smoke. After fiddling around for a while, she ran out with a pink hat and said with a grin, Mommy, look. It's not hot anymore after I put on the hat, Gigai, be good. There are a lot of people on the streets, so it's better if you don't go. Come to Grandaunt's house to play, okay? Xiao Guai blinked her big watery eyes. Mommy, if you don't want me to go out to play, then take me to Brother Yi's house, okay? Xia Dong was in a difficult position. Xiao Bao puffed out her small chest. Mom, let Gigai come with me to Bailey's house. I will take good care of her. I will definitely not let Bailey Yi bully her. Also, didn't you want us to be friends with Bailey Yi? With Xiao Guai, Bailey Yi will have another friend. The little guy was calculating in his heart. It was very boring to be alone with Bailey Yi. With Xiao Guai, it would definitely be more interesting. Xiao Guai threw herself onto Xia Dong's leg and rubbed against it. That's right, Mommy. I also want to be friends with Brother Yi. Xia Dong looked at the two little guys' expectant eyes and nodded in agreement. The housekeeper's mental fortitude was quite good. She was not surprised by the sudden appearance of another little bun. She calmly led them upstairs. After more than 10 days of interaction, Xia Dong was already able to chat with the servant who made her tea. She was no longer restrained in the living room. Instead, she walked around the garden and helped Xiao Lu bathe Lil Pi. She especially loved the stone bench under the grape trellis because from there, she could see Bailey Yi's room on the second floor. If she was lucky, she could even see him standing on the balcony. Even if she couldn't get close to him, she was satisfied to see him from afar. She sat under the grape trellis again. On the surface, she appeared to be enjoying the cool air, but in reality, she was secretly observing Bailey Yi's room. Unfortunately, Xiao Yi wasn't on the balcony today. The large floor-to-ceiling window had its curtains drawn, so she couldn't see the situation inside. At this moment, Bailey Yi was playing Go with himself. From time to time, he would turn his head to look at the clock on the table. When he saw the hour hand pointing to 4, a strange light flashed across his eyes. There was a knock on the door. He lowered his head and looked seriously at the chessboard. Young Master Qi and Miss Xia are here to visit you today. After the housekeeper said this, she left the room. Bailey Yi didn't look up. Brother Yi, do you still remember me? I'm Gigai. Xiao Guai let go of Xiao Bao's hand and carefully walked to Bailey Yi's side. Bailey Yi still didn't look up. Xiao Bao said sourly, Gigai, you promised me that you wouldn't call him brother. You've forgotten again. I'm sorry. Xiao Guai stuck out her tongue cutely. She always seemed to forget things. She propped up her little head with her meaty arms and leaned against Bailey Yi's table. She asked curiously, Bailey Yi, don't you find it boring to play with yourself? Bailey Yi's hand that was holding a Go piece paused. Xiao Bao sharply caught it. Her lips curled into a mischievous smile, and she deliberately said loudly, he won't be bored. Anyway, he's bored every day and doesn't play with anyone else. He can only play with himself. But that's so pitiful. Xiao Guai reached out her little hand and gently stroked Bailey Yi's hair as if she was petting her own pet. Bailey Yi, from today onwards, brother and I are your friends. Don't play by yourself. Play with us. Bailey Yi acted as if he didn't hear her. He lowered his eyes and continued with his actions, placing a go piece on a certain spot. "Oh right, Bailey E., are you hungry? My mommy bought a lot of delicious pastries for you." Xiao Guai grabbed his hand and dragged him to the coffee table. "Come with me. I'll get them for you. They're delicious." Bailey E. was like a puppet, allowing her to drag him to the sofa beside the coffee table. Xiao Bao helped Xiao Guai open the lunchbox and took out small boxes of exquisite and delicious pastries. "This is vanilla, this is purple potato, and this is red bean paste. Brother likes red bean paste. Here you go. Bailey E., which flavor do you like? I'll get it for you." Xiao Guai happily helped everyone distribute the pastries. Bailey E. reached out his finger and slowly pointed at the little rabbit-shaped pastry in front of Xiao Guai. Xiao Guai's cute little face fell. "Ah, you like this rabbit? But I like it too. Forget it, I'll let you have it." It was rare for Brother E to take the initiative to express his opinion, so she might as well let him have it. So Bailey E calmly put the little rabbit into his mouth. Xiao Bao wasn't sure if he was imagining it, but he felt that Bailey Yi's attitude towards his mother had changed. He no longer rejected the food she brought and even ate with a clear conscience. Like now, for example, he purposely stole Gigai's favorite rabbit. Xiao Bao, who had a huge sister complex, was very unhappy. He glared at him, and used his eyes to condemn him. Bailey E ignored his anger and calmly picked a puppy-shaped pastry and put it on Xiao Guai's plate. "Is this for me? It's so cute." Xiao Guai beamed. Brother E wasn't as autistic as her brother said. He even took the initiative to give it to her. Xiao Bao was even more unhappy. He had been with him for more than 10 days. Sigh, he didn't even look at him, let alone take the initiative to give him something. What a perverted guy, Xiao Bao cursed in his heart. Suddenly, a hand appeared in front of him. A black guy that looked like a panda landed on his plate. "Humph, at least you have some conscience." Xiao Bao didn't hold back. He picked up the panda pastry and took a bite. The next second, he spat it into the trash can. "Damn it, of all things, you chose the peanut butter one. He hated peanut butter the most, you bastard." A smile quickly flashed across Bailey Yi's eyes. After spitting it out, Xiao Bao still felt a strange taste in his mouth, so he ran to the bathroom to rinse his mouth. The bathroom was next to the door, and the door wasn't locked. It was just ajar, so when Xiao Bao came out of the bathroom, he happened to hear someone talking to the housekeeper outside the door. "Housekeeper, Mrs. Su called just now. She said that Miss Su is sick and wants the eldest young master to visit her." The housekeeper lowered his voice. "Then go and report this to the old madam." Xiao Bao swayed his little butt and sat back in his seat. He poked Bailey E with his elbow. "Let me tell you. I just heard from the servant that Su Yunqian is sick and wants your daddy to visit her." He snorted and continued, "I'm guessing that your daddy definitely doesn't want to visit her. That's why she called here and used your great-grandmother to force your daddy." After saying that, he stared at Bai Li with a serious expression. "If you're faking it, then this move of yours is quite successful. However, that hateful woman won't let you off so easily. She'll definitely have something else up her sleeve. You have to be careful." Bailey Yi's lips curled up, but he quickly returned to his expressionless face. It was so fast that Xiao Bao thought that he was seeing things. Xiao Bao's guess was right. The Su family called Bailey Han and said that Su Yunqian was sick and wanted him to visit her. However, Bailey Han politely refused. Mrs. Su then called the Su mansion, and the old madam immediately ordered Bailey Han to visit Su Yunqian at the Su mansion. Bailey Han was forced by the old madam to the point that he had no choice but to visit her after work. She was lying on the bed with a pale face. She seemed to be very sick. Beauty novel, Songshu 566. Chapter 138. Bailey Han glanced at the bowl of porridge beside the bed. The porridge inside had not been touched at all. He frowned slightly. How can you not eat? What do you want to eat? I'll get someone to make it for you. Su Yunqian leaned against the headboard with a pillow behind her back. She shook her head delicately. No, I don't have an appetite. Mrs. Su came in with Bailey Han. After hearing her daughter's words, she immediately became anxious. How can you do that? Yunqian, you haven't eaten anything for a whole day. Mommy, I really don't have an appetite. Su Yunqian forced a smile and comforted her. Mommy, I'm fine. You've taken care of me for a whole day. Have a good rest. Okay, then I won't disturb you. If there's anything, just get the servants to call me. Mrs. Su reminded her repeatedly. If there's anything you want to eat, just get the servants to make it for you. Don't starve. Su Yunqian smiled helplessly. Mommy, I know. Go and rest. Only she and Bailey Han were left in the room. She shifted her body and Bailey Han leaned over to help her sit up. You were fine yesterday. How did you get sick? Where do you feel uncomfortable? Have you seen a doctor? I'm fine. I'm just a little dizzy. The smell of oil makes me feel a little nauseous. Maybe my stomach isn't too good. She gently held his hand, lowered her eyes, and said softly, Han, are you only willing to come and see me when I'm sick? Then I'd rather be sick every day. Bailey Han's body stiffened. He said lightly, don't be silly. I'll accompany you to the hospital tomorrow and have a good checkup. There was a smile in her eyes. Although her face was pale, she was still stunningly beautiful. No need. I know my own body. There won't be any big problems. I'll be fine after a day of rest. You're so busy. How can I let you waste your time with me? He frowned. I'll only be relieved if you have a checkup. I'll pick you up tomorrow. She tilted her body and leaned on his shoulder naturally. I feel much better now that you're willing to come and see me. If you're still worried, you can send me to the hospital and then go to the company. Well, it's decided then. He didn't push her away and let her lean on his shoulder. Han, I'm a little sleepy. Can you sing for me? Her hand naturally rested on his chest as she leaned into his ear and whispered softly. When she spoke, her hot breath sprayed onto his ear. When she said the last word, her lips even brushed against his earlobe. His body suddenly tensed up. Almost instinctively, he pushed her away and stood up abruptly. Rest early. I'm leaving. He did not wait for her reply and quickly left. Su Yunqian looked at his tightly shut door. The frailness on her face had long faded away, and her fingers clutched the bedsheets tightly. It was already past 9:00 at night when Xia Dong walked out of the Autism Rehabilitation Training Center. She saw Lu Xing and Bailey Yun facing each other, so she quickly squeezed between them to separate them. Fox, what are you doing here? Bailey Yun put one hand in his trouser pocket and narrowed his fox-like eyes. He glanced at the expressionless Lu Xing and smirked. Didn't you say you were busy during the day? I had no choice but to look for you at night. Why didn't your fiancé come to pick you up? Xia Dong knew that he was upset because Lu Xing had stopped him. She smiled. Brother Shen has a social engagement tonight. Don't be angry. I'll treat you to supper. She waved her hand and motioned for Lu Xing to take 2 steps back and not follow him so closely. Bailey Yun saw her little gesture and felt much better. He snorted at Lu Xing proudly and said lazily, well, since you're so sincere, I'll do you the honor of having supper with you. However, I'll have to choose the location. No problem, I'll listen to you. However, I only have an hour and a half, so I can't choose a place that's too far away. There was no housekeeper at home now, so she did not feel safe leaving the 2 children alone at home. Don't worry, it's very close. I'll drive. You can rest first. Bailey Yun snatched the car keys from her hand and drove the car over. Xia Dong sat in the passenger seat, while Lu Xing squatted in the back seat, as if she did not exist. Bailey Yun took her to a private restaurant. The environment was elegant and quiet. He had already reserved a private room and let her in with familiarity. The 2 of them ordered and Xia Dong asked, "Fox, why are you looking for me?" Bailey Yun blinked his fox-like eyes. "I want to introduce you to a friend." "Who is it?" He looked at his watch. "Wait for another 10 minutes. He'll be here soon." Before their dishes were served, the friend that Bailey Yun was talking about arrived. Although he was not as handsome as Bailey Yun, he had a gentle and elegant temperament, giving people a sense of trust at first sight. He smiled gently. "Miss Xia, nice to meet you. My name is Lin Yi, I'm Yun's friend." Xia Dong smiled and reached out her hand. "Nice to meet you, Mr. Lin. I'm Fox's friend too." "Fox?" Lin Yi looked at Bailey Yun with a smile. "Yun, this nickname suits you very well." As cunning as a fox, Bailey Yun brushed the hair in front of his forehead and chuckled. "I'll take it as a compliment." Xia, don't be fooled by this guy's appearance. He's the blackest on the inside. Also, his personality is a little, twisted." Xia Dong, Lin Yi smiled. "Miss Xia, don't be scared by him. It's because I study psychology that this guy thinks I have a psychological problem. Of course, this is just his wishful thinking." Xia Dong looked at Bailey Yun meaningfully. "Mr. Lin, I can only say that I sympathize with you." With Bailey Yun's glib tongue, how could a gentle person like Lin Yi win against him? Lin Yi smiled, his voice as gentle as jade. Bailey Yun smiled. Xia, that's where you're wrong. I'm the one who deserves your sympathy. You don't know that when we were in America, this guy liked to use me as a test subject every time he learned something new. For example, hypnotism," Lin Yi countered calmly. "Why don't you say that I treated you like a patient and persuaded you for hours just to pull you back to the right path?" Xia Dong was curious. "Mr. Lin, did Fox do something that led him astray?" Lin Yi cleared his throat. Bailey Yun jumped up from his chair and covered his mouth impatiently. "Don't say it." Lin Yi blinked and signaled for him to let go. He threatened again, "Don't say it, or I'll kill you." "Alright, let's change the topic so that there won't be a murder." Xia Dong held back her laughter and helped Lin Yi out of the situation. Bailey Yun winked at Lin Yi after the crisis was resolved. The meaning was obvious, "Don't say anything, or I'll kill you." Lin Yi raised his eyebrows and replied with a look, "That depends on my mood." Bailey Yun's face darkened and was about to explode when Xia Dong, who had been watching them flirt with each other, quickly said, "I'm sorry to interrupt your flirting. I want to know, have you known each other for a long time?" "Pfft. Who's flirting with that guy?" Bailey Yun distanced himself from Lin Yi in disgust. Lin Yi raised his eyebrows in amusement. "Don't call me that. I'm your senior." He looked at Xia Dong and explained, "When I was in America, I went to the same university as Yun. In fact, we haven't seen each other for more than 5 years. If I didn't meet Yun at Bailey's house, I wouldn't have known that he was in a city." Bai Lian seemed to have recalled something and smiled until his eyes narrowed into slits. Xia, do you still remember the first time we met? You threw yourself into my arms. That day was the first day I returned to the country. Hey, I want to correct you. That was not throwing myself into your arms. I was just avoiding someone's pursuit. Xia Dong was speechless. At that time, Bailey Han was chasing her with bodyguards. She had no choice but to ask for his help. Bailey Yun crossed his arms and leaned against the chair leisurely. He shrugged nonchalantly. It's okay. I know you're shy. Xia Dong was speechless. Thank you for your understanding. Bailey Yun raised his eyebrows. Xia, Lin Yi is now a psychotherapist. Aren't you curious about who his latest patient is? Xia Dong's brain spun quickly and she was shocked. Mr. Lin, are you treating Bailey Yi? He mentioned that he went to Bailey's house. Lin Yi smiled, his eyes gentle and wise. Yes. I heard from Yun that you've taken part in an autistic rehabilitation course, and you've learned quite a bit about it. It just so happens that my assistant took a wedding leave yesterday. If you're willing to replace her and work for me for half a month, I'd be very grateful. Xia Dong stared at him in disbelief for a few seconds. She suddenly looked at Bailey Yun. His charming eyes were smiling and he nodded at her gently. She immediately felt a surge of warmth in her heart. She pursed her lips and turned back to Lin Yi with a bright smile. Mr. Lin, thank you. You don't have to thank me. If you want to thank someone, thank that kid Yun. He said a lot of good things to me, Lin Yi said humorously. I think he said all the good things he's going to say to me in advance. Xia Dong knew that Bailey Yun must have put in a lot of effort to make her a temporary assistant. On the way home, she thanked him sincerely. Fox, thank you. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have the chance to meet Xiao Yi. Bai Liyun's lips curved up. Don't listen to Lin Yi's nonsense. His assistant is on leave, and you have the knowledge in this area. If I introduce you to him, he'll be more than happy. Xia Dong knew that he said this because he didn't want her to feel burdened. She was even more grateful. He reminded her. Xia, from tomorrow onwards you'll be Lin Yi's assistant. I'm worried that Grandma and the others will recognize you and misunderstand you. It's best if you disguise yourself. Yes, I've thought about that. I'll be careful. She had thought about how to disguise herself when they were eating. She had to make it so that no one could recognize her. She couldn't bring trouble to Lin Yi. Attention, Hongcha 866. Chapter 139. Early the next morning, Bailey Han drove to the Su family home. After sending Su Yunqian to the hospital, he gave her a few more instructions before leaving. After he left, Su Yunqian dialed an unknown number. Xiaoxi, I've already arranged for the surgery. Come to the first hospital now, said Xiaoxi, who was the young woman whom she had bumped into outside the gynecology and obstetrics department the other day. Half an hour later, Xiaoxi appeared in front of Su Yunqian, wearing a cap and a surgical mask. Su Yunqian almost couldn't recognize her if she hadn't taken the initiative to greet her. Don't be afraid, no one will find out who you are. Let's go over now. Su Yunqian led Xiaoxi out of the hospital and hailed a taxi. After driving for a while, the taxi pulled over in front of an old building. They had arrived at a private clinic where the clinic would not ask for any information about the patients. As long as the patients were willing to pay, the clinic would perform the abortion procedure on them. The confidentiality of the procedure was very high. Of course, the fees charged here were much higher than those charged in official hospitals. Su Yunqian had already made an appointment with a doctor long ago. After Xiaoxi entered, she immediately lay down on the operating table. More than 2 hours later, she walked out of the operating theater with the help of the nurse, Mississippi. Her face was as pale as a sheet. Su Yunqian stopped playing games on her mobile phone and looked up at her. Can you still walk? Yes. Xiaoxi grabbed her handbag and cap from the rack and said, Miss Chen, let's find a place where we can talk. Su Yunqian did not tell Xiaoxi her real name and lied to her that her surname was Qin. When they made their way downstairs, Su Yunqian kindly held onto Xiaoxi's arm and she was extremely grateful for her help. In the quiet cafe, Xiaoxi took out the medical report from her handbag and pushed it towards Su Yunqian. Miss Chen, don't worry, I won't tell anyone about this. Su Yunqian calmly placed the medical report into her purse and retrieved a bank card from her wallet. I deposited some money into someone else's account. There's 10,000 yuan in here and the password is your mobile number. Xiaoxi, take good care of yourself. Women should treat themselves well. If you don't cherish yourself, who else will? Miss Chen, thank you. She grabbed the bank card with tears welling up in her reddened eyes, making her look extremely pitiful. Su Yunqian raised her brows slightly and said, Xiaoxi, we're fated to meet, so let me remind you. The man who impregnated you might not really love you. He didn't even accompany you during such an important surgery. Tears rolled down Xiaoxi's face and she sobbed, No, that's not it. I was humiliated. Hence, she was not looking forward to the arrival of this child at all. She did not dare to tell anyone about this matter, including her parents who loved her dearly. Su Yunqian was stunned. She had thought of many possibilities, but she did not expect this to be the case. She took out a piece of tissue and handed it to her. Just take it that you were bitten by a dog. You're still very young and you still have a long way to go. Women, you'll only be looked down upon by others when you're strong. Xiaoxi grabbed the tissue and stared blankly at her beautiful face. She smiled and said, Take care. Her slender waist swayed as she walked out of Xiaoxi's line of sight gracefully. Su Yunqian put on her sunglasses and hailed a taxi. Her slender fingers touched her handbag, and her lips curled into a smug smile. With this inspection report, she could ask someone to make it her own. In the old mansion in Bailey, the butler greeted Lin Yi and the others warmly. Dr. Lin, you're here. Please come in. This is. The butler turned to look at Xia Dong. Xia Dong was wearing a white shirt and a black work attire that hid her slender figure. Her shiny black hair was tied up in a bun and her neat fringe covered her smooth forehead. She wore a pair of black-framed glasses and her beautiful eyes were hidden behind the thick lenses. She looked very serious, just like a high school teacher who was patrolling around with a pointer. Lin Yi smiled and introduced her. This is my new assistant, Miss Yi Si. Xia Dong pushed her black-framed glasses up her nose bridge and said, Hello, I'm Yi Si. Nice to meet you. Yi Si was also Si. When she spoke, her voice was slightly hoarse. This was the effect of the pill that Xia Dong had gotten from Mikakito. You flatter me. Dr. Lin, Miss Yi, this way please. The butler didn't pay too much attention to Xia Dong and led them to the second floor. Xia Dong was getting more and more nervous as they approached Bailey Yi's room. We're here. Please come in. The butler walked them to the door and waited for them to enter before closing the door and standing guard outside. Lin Yi glanced at Xia Dong. Her neat fringe and black-framed glasses covered half of her face, but he could see that she was nervous. Her eyes were fixed on Bailey Yi, who was sitting in front of the desk. Her hands were clenched into fists as if she was trying to hold something back. Lin Yi was surprised. She seemed to have some special feelings for Bailey Yi. When Bailey Yun asked him for help and offered this job to Xia Dong, he only said that Xia Dong was interested in autistic children and needed a job. Now, it seemed like there was more to it than meets the eye. He smiled and said gently, See, let's get to work. Xia Dong took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. Okay. During the therapy, Xia Dong realized that Lin Yi was really an amazing therapist. He had a complete treatment plan for Xiao Yi. In the first 3 months of therapy, he mainly trained Xiao Yi to be able to sense the outside world. He wanted him to be able to receive information from the outside world, such as language, movement, color, shape, and even emotions. When she saw Xiao Yi smile in the interactive game, her heart almost melted. Lin Yi patted his head gently and praised with a smile, "Xiao Yi is really a genius. You only took 2 minutes to solve this riddle." Xiao Yi didn't say anything, but the light in his eyes shone even brighter. 1.5 hours passed quickly. It meant that the therapy for the day was about to end. Lin Yi looked up at Xiaodong. Throughout the therapy, her eyes were on Xiao Yi. That kind of loving gaze made even him think that she was Xiao Yi's mother. Xiaodong felt Lin Yi's probing gaze and quickly looked away. Her expression was slightly flustered. Lin Yi smiled, "Steve, please take out the Jiuquan rings for me." Okay, Xiaodong took out the Jiuquan rings from the box Lin Yi brought with him and handed it to him. "See, give this to Xiao Yi." "Oh, okay." Nervousness gripped her heart. She squatted down and looked at Xiao Yi at eye level. She held the Jiuquan rings in front of him. "Xiao Yi, this is the Jiuquan rings." Bailey Yi ignored her, raising his head to look at Lin Yi as if to ask him why he had given him the 9 rings. Lin Yi smiled, "If you can solve the Jiuquan rings in 2.5 minutes, I'll take you out to play for a day." Bailey Yi's eyes flashed. "Are you willing to accept the challenge?" This was faster than the Guinness World Record. It was impossible for a normal child to achieve this goal in such a short time, but Xiao Yi was different. His IQ was many times higher than other children his age. Bailey Yi lowered his eyes as if thinking. 2 seconds later, he reached out his small hand and took the Jiuquan rings from Xiaodong. Lin Yi smiled gently, "Xiao Yi, I hope that one day, I can hear you say, 'Okay, I accept the challenge,'" in a proud voice. Bailey Yi didn't respond to Lin Yi's words. All his attention was on the Jiuquan rings. The rings were small and delicate, very suitable for children. His soft fingers moved quickly, and the rings made a crisp knocking sound. "Xiao Yi, I'll see you in 2 days. I'm looking forward to your performance." Lin Yi patted his head. Xiaodong looked at him reluctantly and followed Lin Yi out of the Bailey house. Lin Yi smiled gently in the car, "Where do you live?" "I'll send you back." Xiaodong paused, "Don't you have work in the afternoon?" Lin Yi tilted his head to look at her, a teasing smile on his face. "Yun has already told me that you'll only be my assistant when I go to House Bailey for outpatient treatment. He also specifically told me not to do anything to you." Xiaodong was embarrassed. "Mr. Lin, Yun was joking. Please don't take it to heart. I'm your temporary assistant now. If I'm absent, I'll cause trouble for you. Don't worry. I'm only at the Bailey house. When I'm at the clinic, I can handle it myself." He smiled, "So, don't worry and go do your work. I'll see you in 2 days." Lin Yi would only treat Bailey Yi every 2 days. "Thank you so much." Xiaodong was so grateful that she didn't know what to say. At the same time, she was also grateful to Bailey Yun in her heart. Xiaodong had to pretend to be 2 people in 1 day and appear at the Bailey house. It was a little stressful. She changed into a plain floral dress. Her long hair was curled into big waves and fell over her shoulders. Her fringe was combed to the side, revealing her smooth forehead and willowy eyebrows. After taking off her black-rimmed glasses, her eyes were bright. She was worried that the housekeeper would recognize her, so she put on some light makeup to make herself look more attractive. Although the housekeeper took a second look at her because of her beautiful makeup, he didn't associate her with the rigid Yi. Xiaodong saw with her own eyes that Xiao Yi's condition was getting better in the morning. Even if she couldn't see him now, her mood was much calmer. After greeting the servants, she went to the garden to take a stroll. Bailey's garden was very beautiful and it took up a lot of space. She found a lounge chair under the shade of a tree and lay down leisurely. The cool breeze blew, and it was very comfortable. She couldn't help but close her eyes and put her hands on her stomach habitually. She was already more than 2 months pregnant and was a little sleepy. Lying here comfortably made her sleepy. Just as she was about to fall asleep, she heard footsteps. She opened her eyes and saw Bailey Han holding Su Yunqian's arm walking towards her. Attention, Xinwu 799. Chapter 140. Standing together, they really looked like a perfect couple. Watching them walk over, Xia Dong couldn't help but recall the scene of them walking down the red carpet hand in hand during the wedding rehearsal. "Miss Xia, how have you been?" Su Yunqian spoke first with a gentle smile. Bailey Han let go of Su Yunqian's arm and frowned. "Why aren't you in the living room? It was so hot outside." Wasn't she afraid of getting sunburned? Xia Dong had already stood up from the recliner and smiled lightly. "I thought it was beautiful outside, so I came out for a walk. If you have something to do, don't worry about me. I'll look around." Bailey Han was a workaholic. He was rarely late and left early. Coming back so early and with Su Yunqian, he must have something to deal with. Bailey Han nodded and held Su Yunqian's arm with one hand as they walked to the living room. Xia Dong lay down again. Just as she was about to fall asleep, Yi Lu jogged over. "Miss Xia, young master asked me to serve you. Are you thirsty? Do you like tea or other drinks?" Xia Dong thought for a moment. "Please give me a glass of orange juice." "Thank you." "Okay. Please wait a moment." Xiao Lu quickly brought her a glass of fresh orange juice. She also held a fan in her hand. After placing the orange juice on the wooden table, she stood beside her and gently fanned her. Xia Dong quickly grabbed her hand. "No need, Xiao Lu. I'm not hot." "Miss Xia, you don't have to be polite with me. This is young master's order." She was shocked when young master suddenly asked the butler to call her over from the kitchen. She thought she had done something wrong. She didn't expect young master to ask her to chat with Miss Xia to relieve her boredom and serve her. Xia Dong was both amused and speechless. Bailey Han, the host, was really enthusiastic. He was afraid that she, a guest, would be neglected. On the other side, Bailey Han and Su Yunqian entered the study and sat opposite the old madam. Bailey Han said, "Yunqian, Grandma is here now. You can speak now." In the morning, he sent Su Yunqian to the hospital for a checkup. In the afternoon, he received a call from her, saying that the results of the checkup were out, but she wanted to tell the results in front of the old lady. Su Yunqian's charming cheeks were dyed with a touch of red as she embarrassedly said, "Han, I'm not deliberately keeping you in suspense. I just don't know how to say it." The old madam smiled. "What are you doing? Why are you being so secretive? Yunqian, if you have anything to say, just say it. Grandma will help you." Su Yunqian bit her lip. Finally, under her expectant gaze, she said softly, "Grandma, I'm pregnant." "Pregnant?" The old madam looked at Bailey Han in astonishment. She knew that her eldest grandson had always been restrained and courteous. When did the two of them develop to this point? Bailey Han's breathing suddenly stopped. His deep eyes were filled with shock and his heart was in a mess. She was actually pregnant that night. Xiao Yi had not recovered yet, and she had not been cleared of suspicion. She was actually pregnant. Even when he was 16 years old and alone on an isolated island to survive, he did not feel this way. He was helpless and at a loss. It was as if a strong hand had grabbed his heart, making it difficult for him to breathe, and his blood flow was not smooth. Su Yunqian took out the checkup report from her bag and placed it in front of them. "I'm 7 weeks pregnant." Bailey Han took the checkup report. It was clearly written on it that she was 7 weeks pregnant. No wonder she felt nauseous. It was a pregnancy reaction. After a while, he said in a hoarse voice, "Yunqian, I don't want this child." "No, Han, you can't do this to me." Su Yunqian's face instantly paled. She said agitatedly, "Han, this is our child. Do you remember what you promised me? You said that you would give birth to the child if you were pregnant. How can you say that you don't want the child now?" Tears welled up in her beautiful eyes. She grabbed his arm and begged, "Han, let me give birth to the child, okay?" Bailey Han's body stiffened. His deep eyes had a complicated expression. He held her hand. "Yunqian, I'm sorry. Xiao Yi is suffering from autism now. I don't have the energy to take care of another child. Also, I don't want Xiao Yi to think that I'm giving up on him." "Then you're heartlessly abandoning our child? He's already 7 weeks pregnant." Su Yunqian stroked her abdomen with heartache. "No matter what happens to us, the child is innocent. I beg you, let him live." She cried so miserably that tears rolled down her face. Bailey Han frowned. He wanted to say something, but he was interrupted by the old madam's sudden slamming of the table. The old madam glared at Bailey Han. "Ah Han, what do you mean you don't want the child? Since Yunqian is pregnant, you have to take responsibility. Marry her and let her give birth to the child." Although Bailey Han felt guilty, he insisted on his opinion. "Grandma, Xiao Yi's illness has just improved. If I marry Yunqian now, it will definitely agitate him." The old madam's expression stiffened. She sighed. "I know, but Yunqian is pregnant now. If you let an unmarried woman like her have an abortion, what will happen to her reputation? We, the Bailey family, can't do such an immoral thing. At worst, you can get the marriage certificate first. As for the wedding, wait until Xiao Yi recovers." Yunqian's child needed a legal identity. Su Yunqian sobbed pitifully. Bailey Han looked at her like this. He felt heartache and guilt, and his heart almost softened. However, when he thought of the thrilling scene when Xiao Yi fell down the stairs, he hardened his heart. "Grandma, I don't agree. I won't get married for the time being. The child can't be kept." Bailey Han said the last 3 words with difficulty. His heart ached fiercely and he felt guilty. Compared to the unborn child, he cared more about Xiao Yi. "Bailey Han, you're so cruel. Since you don't want to marry me, then the child has nothing to do with you. Even if people laugh at me, I want to give birth to the child. Don't worry, I won't use the child to ask you for anything." She grabbed the checklist from the table and angrily crumpled it into a ball. She suddenly got up and ran to the door. "Yunqian, Yunqian," the old madam picked up her walking stick and anxiously leaned on the floor. "Ah Han, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and chase after her. She's pregnant now. What if something happens?" Bailey Han pursed his thin lips and stood there for more than 10 seconds. He suddenly turned around and chased after her. The old madam leaned on the floor and sighed. Sigh, how did things turn out like this? Xia Dong was leisurely chatting with little Lu when Su Yunqian suddenly ran past them. She covered half of her face and looked very sad. Just as she ran past, Bailey Han quickly chased after her. Thus, Xia Dong and little Lu witnessed a dramatic scene. Bailey Han grabbed Su Yunqian's wrist from behind. Su Yunqian wanted to shake him off, but she didn't succeed. Instead, she was pulled into his arms, Xia Dong coughed awkwardly. Well, little Lu, it's about time. I'll go to the living room and wait for Xiao Bao. I should go back to the kitchen to work. Little Lu cooperated and helped her up. The two of them quickly left the place. Su Yunqian struggled and pushed Bailey Han's chest. Let go of me. I don't want you to care about me. Yunqian, stop it. Bailey Han didn't know what to say. He could only hug her tighter. You're pregnant. Don't be too emotional. Didn't you say you don't want this child? Why do you care so much about me? If something happens to me, you should be happy. Don't say things out of anger. I know I'm in the wrong. Bailey Han gently patted her back, trying to calm her down. Yunqian, let's calm down first and think about what to do, okay? She choked. I'm very calm. I insist on keeping the child. Bailey Han was silent for a moment. Yunqian, give me another half a month. If things still don't turn for the better, we'll get the marriage certificate first. She looked at him expectantly, her hand grasping his arm. What about the child? He didn't say what she wanted to hear as what she wanted to hear. Instead, he softened his voice. Yunqian, we can still have children in the future. No, it's different. Every child is an angel bestowed by God to their parents. They're all unique. No matter how many children we have in the future, they won't be him. Tears quickly gathered in her eyes. Her weak appearance was heartbreaking. His heart suddenly ached. That was his child. Although it was only a month old, they were still connected by flesh and blood. His originally firm thoughts began to waver. He hugged her tightly and said in a low voice, "Give me some more time. Let me think about it." "Okay, I'll give you time. Think about it carefully. I'm tired. Take me home." She slowly let go of his waist. She was weak and tired. On the balcony on the second floor, the two little guys saw the scene through binoculars. Xiao Bao threw the binoculars aside and sighed. "Although I can't hear what they're saying, I'm guessing it's not something good." Xiao Yi didn't answer. He also threw the binoculars aside, but his eyes became serious. Xiao Bao patted his shoulder. "Bailey Yi, let me remind you. You have to quickly think of a way to find out what's going on. Otherwise, when their old feelings reignite, you'll be crying your eyes out." Yesterday, Bailey Han was still cold and indifferent towards Su Yunqian. When Su Yunqian was sick, the old madam had to suppress Bailey Han to visit her. What exactly happened? Overnight, Bailey Han started to pull Su Yunqian again. Xiao Bao rubbed his chin as he thought hard. The adult's emotional world was really complicated. Bailey Yi wasn't anxious at all. He picked up the 9 consecutive rings from the table and started to untie them. His indifferent expression made Xiao Bao go crazy. Forget it. If the emperor isn't anxious, why should I worry about it? You play by yourself. I'm going downstairs to find my mommy. Xiao Bao ran away angrily. Add Hongcha 866. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.